You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1464 1464 Chapter 337, Fear of Chaos, Monthly Subscription, 2. Zhou Mingren said, "Feng Qi, you can't hide anything now. If I were you, I'd rather protect myself and fulfill his wish than seek your own death. What do you think?" Feng Qi's eyes flashed with pain. Why? He knew that Qin Yong was the one who did it this time to get him off. Did he have to do this? Did he really not want to turn back? The words rang in his mind again, "Help me take care of Jia Jia." Zhou Mingren's words caused Feng Qi to feel a sharp pain in his heart. He was not afraid of being tortured severely. He would not give Invincible a chance to search through his memories. However, was there any meaning in dying now? Feng Qi gritted his teeth until they were cracked open. At this moment, Hong Tan also said, "Feng Qi, don't confess recklessly. Don't throw away your life for the so-called loyalty. Just tell the truth." Hong Tan looked around, he said coldly, "Doesn't everyone want to know if my disciple, Qin Yong, killed him? Feng Qi, if you saw it, just say it. If you didn't see it, just say it. Don't think that Qin Yong killed him and be stupid enough to take the blame for him. The law doesn't allow people to be merciful. Who can confirm whether it's Qin Yong or not?" Hong Tan said faintly, "Even if they look the same, even if they have the same aura, there are many imposters these days. Could it be that just a sentence from someone can convict someone? If that's the case, I even saw Elder Zhou kill his own student, Zhou Pingsheng. Of course, it's just an example. Don't tell me that what I saw is real." Hong Tan's laughter was ear-piercing. Someone shouted angrily, "Hong Tan, what do you mean?" Hong Tan said calmly, "What do you mean?" "Nothing. My disciple has gone missing. Feng Qi is silly and weak. Let's not talk about what he saw or what he knew. Even if he really saw something, who can guarantee that what he saw is real? Let's wait until we catch the murderer and catch him at the scene. Suspicion never leads to guilt. Do you understand? I even suspect that my master was killed by an invincible human in the past. Can I say that if I saw an invincible human who killed him, can I convict him?" The moment these words were said, Yuan Qi burst forth and willpower overflowed. Shock. This was the first time Hong Tan had said such words in front of everyone, in front of the three unrivaled experts. The great Han King frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, "Hong Tan, don't spout nonsense." Hong Tan smiled, he bowed and said, "Please forgive me, great Han King. I'm just giving an example. Some people always feel that they have their way with me and my disciple. However, in the world of cultivators, anything is possible. Catching thieves and capturing stolen goods. Is it difficult to impersonate someone?" As he spoke, his expression changed and he changed into Zhou Mingren's appearance. Very quickly, he changed into Lord Xia Ho's appearance. Smiling, he said, "What does appearance mean? My aura is stronger than yours. If I hide it, what can you discover? If you don't catch me in the act, it will be ridiculous to talk about suspicion." Zhou Mingren and the others frowned and did not say anything. Feng Qi's eyes lit up. Su Yu also heaved a sigh of relief. His grandmaster, who was in closed-door cultivation, had finally put in some effort this time. It was still all right. Hong Tan continued, "I'm now suspecting whether my disciple is dead or not. He's taking the blame for someone else. I'm thinking, why can't the 8 great clans and 8 suns and moons kill the 2 suns and moons of the 6 Wings Divine Sect? I'm thinking, the 6 Wings Divine Sect has dominated the human realm and chased after them all the way. Who is hiding? Who is protecting them? I'm still wondering if my disciple has already been killed, imprisoned, and crippled." Hong Tan sighed and said, "If the lords can help me find my disciple, I'll be very grateful." "Sigh, as for the generals who died, they might have been killed by the six-winged divine sect. I'm thinking if I should capture and kill the two Sun-Moon Realm sect masters at this time. I'll capture and kill them. Then, I'll see if there are any more murders. If there aren't, it might be them. At this moment, Yuan Qingdong's expression changed slightly. He thought for a moment and suddenly sent a voice transmission to the woman beside him. His gaze fell on a certain spot and he did not make a sound. The woman beside him quickly shouted, "Hong Tan, this is sophistry." Hong Tan said indifferently, "Saint Envoy Zhang, what is sophistry? Did I say something wrong?" The woman shouted, "If Qin Yong didn't kill him, then why did Feng Qi admit that he killed him from the start? Furthermore, the great Xia and Daming Manners have Sun and Moon following them all the way to kill the six-winged divine sect's cult master. How would they have the time to kill him? I want to ask Director Ho and General Zhao to come forward. I want to see if they will perjure themselves in front of Invincible." Hong Tan smiled, "Do as you wish." The woman looked at Invincible and the great Han King did not speak again. The great Song King pondered for a moment and smiled, then let Ho Zhen and Zhao Rui come over and talk. "Are they here?" A moment later, General Zhao's deep voice sounded from outside the hall, "Zhao Rui is here. General Zhao, let's have a chat in the hall." Very quickly, General Zhao strode in and walked to Feng Qi's side. He bowed slightly and said, "Ho Zhen has returned to the Great Ming Mansion. However, Ho Zhen and I have been together almost the entire time. If you have something to ask me, it will be the same." The great Song King smiled and said, "Zhang Ying said that you have been hunting down the six-winged divine sect's disciples. What do you think of the process?" General Zhao nodded. He said in a deep voice, "Ever since the great Xia Manor learned that Feng Qi was being hunted down and his identity was exposed, I received orders from Lord Ho to go and kill the two Sun and Moon members of the six-winged divine sect. Midway, they separated. Ho Zhen and I only followed one of the teams, which was the Silver-Winged Divine Sect's leader's team. The Golden-Winged Divine Sect's leader attracted the Sun and Moon of the 8 great clans to deal with them." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1465. 1465 Chapter 337, Fear of Chaos, Monthly Subscription, 3. The King of the Great Song said again, "Then if you follow along, do you think Silver Wing will have the time to kill Lu Qi and the others?" Zhao Rui was silent. Lord Xia Ho said, "Just say it." General Zhao was silent for a while, then said, "It's very difficult to have the time to kill. Of course, I only have eyes on Silver Wing. I can only say that the chances of Silver Wing making a move are very small." "Then did you encounter Qin Yong and Feng Qi midway?" "No." "Then did they have the time to commit the crime?" "I don't know." The great Song King nodded and looked at the woman. He said calmly, "Zhang Ying, is there anything else you want to ask General Zhao?" The woman hurriedly said, "Golden Wing has been tangling with us. When General Lu Qi was killed, we were still tangling around the Yuan mansion. Golden Wing didn't have the time to kill anyone. As for Silver Wing being tracked, he didn't have the time either. At that time, only Qin Yong and Feng Qi's whereabouts were unknown." With that, she quickly said, "General Zhao, from the beginning to the end, were Qin Yong and Feng Qi deliberately avoiding you?" General Zhao said in a deep voice, "There is no evidence that they were avoiding us, so I can't answer this question." "Then did you track down Silver Wing, and did Silver Wing kill or capture Qin Yong?" General Zhao was silent for a moment, then shook his head. "Probably not." "Then do you still need to ask?" The woman shouted, "They deliberately avoided rescue. The six-winged god sect has no time to commit crimes. Other than Qin Yong and Feng Qi, who else would kill?" On the side, Hong Tan said calmly, "Do you know the cloning technique? Also, I'm now suspecting if you guys really entangled Golden Wing. The 8 suns and moons were like idiots. They were like walking dogs by a sun and moon. They had the nerve to say that they had entangled a sun and moon. Hong Tan. How dare you slander us? At this moment, the suns and moons around Yuan Qingdong started to berate him. Hong Tan was calm and composed. What's wrong? Am I lying? The 8 suns and moons were being walked around like dogs by a sun and moon dog for a few months. Who knows if they were really weak, or if they were doing it on purpose, or if they were simply providing cover. The silent Yuan Qingdong also spoke at this moment. He sighed and said, Jin Yi is already at the 6th level of the Sun-Moon realm and is very powerful. The 8 of us are only at the early stage of the Sun-Moon realm. We surrounded him a few times, but he escaped. Does that mean that you guys are trash? Yuan Qingdong was silent for a moment before he said, if Principal Hong says so, we will also admit that we are not strong enough and have disappointed everyone's expectations. Qingdong. A few of them looked displeased, but Yuan Qingdong did not care. If you said that they were trash, then they were trash. There was no need to defend themselves. There was no point in pointing the blame at them. It was meaningless. It was better to admit that they were trash. So what? It was a fact that the 8 suns and moons had failed to capture 1 suns and moons. No matter how much they tried to defend themselves, it would not be of much use. Hong Tan was a little surprised. Yuan Qingdong had actually learned how to be shameless, which made him a little surprised. In the next moment, Hong Tan said with a smile, since you guys aren't strong enough and are just a bunch of trash, then why can't Jin Yi secretly leave and sneak away to kill Lu Qi and the others? Hong Tan said with a smile, Principal Yuan, am I right? Yuan Qingdong thought for a moment. He slowly said, anything is possible. We can't guarantee that all of this won't happen, so I think that at this moment, without understanding everything, we should let Feng Qi say it himself. He's the person involved. What do you think, Principal Hong? The two sides engaged in a heated argument, and the situation returned to its original point. The focus was still on Feng Qi. Hong Tan didn't say anything else. He glanced at Yuan Qingdong and then looked at Zhou Mingren. With a smile, he continued to lean back on the chair and look around. He patted Wuxia's head. He said telepathically, don't be rash. Grandmaster won't give up on your master. Listen to Grandmaster. The person your master can't let go of the most is you. Don't say anything else, understand? Wuxia nodded silently and didn't say anything. In the middle of the hall, Feng Qi's gaze changed for a while. Suddenly, he said, I'll explain. That day, when I woke up from my coma, I actually didn't know anything and didn't remember anything. General Wu caught me and asked me if I had killed someone and why I was there. I saw that I was the only one there. I thought that Brother Chen had killed someone and fled in fear of punishment. I was worried, so I directly admitted that I had killed someone. An uproar broke out. Feng Qi recanted his statement. Feng Qi quickly said, I don't know the situation at all, but I still remember that it was indeed Brother Chen who went to save me that day. When we met up, we were attacked and I fainted. After that, I lost my mind and it wasn't until I was captured that I woke up. Elder Hom was right. I was a little silly and almost caused myself to not say anything. By saying such nonsense, it made everyone suspect Brother Chen. This is my fault. Nonsense. The woman shouted again, you are unconscious. You said that you have never seen Chen Yong before, and now you say that you are unconscious. You have seen him. Feng Qi, your words are incoherent. Do you still have any credibility? Feng Qi said in a deep voice, I said that I didn't think too much before because of a mistake. Now, I have come to a realization. Perhaps something has happened to Brother Chen. I should tell everyone the truth. It's best to let the invincible experts save Brother Chen. Also, The Golden Wings and the Silver Wings might not be the entire Six Wings Divine sect. I've been hiding in the Six Wings Divine sect for many years. I suspect that there are members of the Six Wings Divine race hiding in the Six Wings Divine sect. Perhaps they were the ones who did it, but you didn't realize it. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1466. 1466 Chapter 337, Fear of Chaos, 4. Hong Tan smiled. This was exactly the effect he wanted. Feng Qi admitting to his crimes wasn't a good thing. Not admitting to his crimes. Where's the evidence? I'm from the Divine Literature Department, and I've been pursuing an invincible target for many years. It's not that I don't have a suspect, but without evidence, I have no choice. I can't do anything to anyone. You want to convict Chen Yong, where's the evidence? Do you really think you can take us down? The instant Feng Qi recanted his confession, someone in the main hall suddenly said, "Sirs, I have something to say." At this moment, another expert dressed in armor stood up and said in a deep voice, "When Lu Qi was killed that day, I quickly rushed to the scene and actually found a drop of the murderer's remaining blood." Hong Tan directly yawned and said, "Other than you, is there anyone else who discovered it with you? Are you sure it was left behind by the murderer? The Myriad clan cult has done this kind of thing quite a lot. They are trying to find a way to obtain a person's blood and frame him for murder. You wouldn't say that the blood in your hands belonged to my disciple, would you?" That general frowned slightly and said, "On that day, many generals of the Heaven Ascension Army came together. It is true that it was the murderer's blood. As for whether it would be framed or not, we can discuss this again. There is no way to prove anything now." With that, a drop of blood appeared. The great Han King reached out and grabbed it. After looking at it for a while, he threw it to the Silkworm Exterminating King and said, "Silkworm Exterminating King, try and see if you can trace back the appearance of the owner." "Sure." The Silkworm Exterminating King smiled and grabbed the blood. The sun and moon revolved in his eyes as if time was flowing backwards. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the drop of blood gradually revealed the appearance of a human figure. On the stage, Su Yu's face was tense as he looked over. He was a little nervous. "Uncle Masters. Also, the Invincible Realm could actually do all of this? To be able to trace something back through a drop of blood? It involved the time domain." After a while, a human figure appeared and became clear. Feng Qi suddenly heaved a sigh of relief and said, "This is a member of the Six Wings sect, the Vice Sect Master, the Red Wings of the seventh layer of the Mountain and Sea Realm. I didn't expect him to be the one who did it." Hong Tan looked meaningfully at the general who had just stood up and smiled. His eyes were calm and composed. At this moment, a middle-aged man was floating in front of everyone. His eyes were somewhat sinister and lifelike. The Silkworm Extermination King took a look and casually destroyed the illusion. He shook his head and said, "This person is already dead. The blood has no traction. He is already dead, and the murder case is still ongoing. Either there was more than one person who killed him, or the blood was simply left behind by someone. It has no value at all." Feng Qi hurriedly said, "Then it must have been done by them together." Silkworm Exterminating King smiled and didn't reply. In fact, everyone knew in their hearts. There was no evidence. Whether or not it was done by Chen Yong, they more or less had some judgment. Silkworm Exterminating King sighed and said, "Let's not talk about this anymore. At this point, Feng Qi's confession is inconsistent. Let's search his soul. Even if Feng Qi is innocent, if he rashly admitted that he killed someone, it would be hard to explain if he didn't explain clearly. Whether he is innocent or not, everything will naturally be clear later. Of course, Feng Qi, we will keep some of your secrets for you. In addition, under the soul search, you will suffer some injuries. If you are innocent, we will compensate you. If not. When Silkworm Extermination King said this, the others did not have any objections. Hong Tan said again, no. Soul search will harm the Foundation. Feng Qi was a hero who had lurked in the Six-Winged Divine Sect for decades. How could he treat him like this? As for why he admitted it earlier, he also said the reason. Believe it or not, this depends on everyone. I don't think he is lying. You can't search the soul just because you are suspicious. I also suspect that old Zhou assassinated my disciple. Can I search his soul? Zhou Mingren smiled and didn't refute. Silkworm King frowned slightly and said, Hong Tan, then you mean that you're not going to investigate now? Hong Tan shook his head, investigate, we must investigate. If we don't investigate, how will we face those generals who died? How will we explain to the soldiers at the front line? However, Feng Qi is a hero and one of us. I think we should first capture the two cult masters of the Six Wings Divine Cult and search their souls to confirm that it's not them. Then, we'll capture the Sun and Moon of the 8 Great Clans and investigate if they colluded with the Myriad Clan cult. After that, we'll search Feng Qi's soul. I have no objections. Hong Tan said calmly, it's not appropriate to search for a hero without first investigating the followers of the Myriad Clan Divine Sect and the trash who didn't do well. Could it be that because Feng Qi is a little weaker, we have to treat him like this? Hong Tan, who was usually not good at talking, was now talking non-stop. His words were clear and logical. Lord Silkworm Exterminating King, everything I said is based on my heart. If you think that you are invincible and are the anchor of the human race, and you insist on searching Feng Qi first, then I have nothing to say. After all, the Six-Winged Divine Sect has the Six-Winged Divine Race behind them, and the 8 Great Clans have 8 invincible experts behind them. Based on your status, Feng Qi is indeed the easiest target. Silkworm Extermination King laughed. You can just say that we bully the weak and fear the strong. I don't dare. Hong Tan lowered his head. I know that you are here to quickly find out the true culprit and take revenge for the dead generals. I will do as you wish. Hong Tan. The Silkworm Exterminating King smiled again and said, you don't have to provoke us. Compared to your master, you are still a little lacking. Your master used to point at our noses and scold us. You are too timid. He teased. The Silkworm Exterminating King smiled and said, what you said makes sense. However, the Sun and Moon are hidden and not easy to find. If it were really that easy to find, we would have found them long ago. As for the Sun and Moon of the 8 great families, the 8 of them acting together, to be honest, the possibility of betrayal is not high. What do you think? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1467. 1467 Chapter 337, Wishing for Chaos in the World, 5. Hong Tan said in a low voice, Sir is right, that means Feng Qi is the most suspicious. There's no problem in searching him. The Silkworm Exterminating King waved his hand and said, there's no need to play this game with me. I'm not a person who would fall for this game. How about this? Feng Qi wants to search, the Sun and Moon of the 8 great families want to search, but only 1 or 2 people are enough. After all, they're acting together. How about this? The moment these words were said, the great Han King looked at him in surprise. The great Song King also had a strange expression on his face and did not say anything. Below, Yuan Qingdong and the others all had ugly expressions on their faces. U.S. Are they going to search us? The woman hurriedly said, Sir, the 8 of us are working together. We represent the 8 great clans and the realm of search. How could we collude with the myriad clans? The Silkworm Exterminating King smiled and said, everyone said so. Feng Qi also said so. We are also in a difficult position. They are both in the quest realm, so it's not appropriate for them to say anything. I'm not. I'm from the War God Hall, so I'll treat them as evil people. If your parents and grandparents feel that it's inappropriate, you can ask them to come to me. Pick 2 of the 8 people. We won't investigate all of them, so as to avoid offending too many people. It doesn't matter much. Don't worry, I can definitely keep it a secret. After this, I'll make it up to all of you. At this moment, the hall was frighteningly quiet. King of Silkworm Extermination, was he really going to search the souls of the 8 great clans? Was he going to offend all 8 of them? Or was he going through a formality? King of Silkworm Extermination knocked on the table, he smiled and said, "It's settled then. Otherwise, everyone will feel that it's unfair. Then, there's no way to continue investigating. It's also a good thing for you to prove your innocence. Otherwise, Hong Tan and the others will keep saying that you're trash and traitors. The 8 great clans and the pursuit realm will be greatly affected, and the credibility of the 8 great clans will be reduced. It's not a good thing for the 8 great clans to be in charge of the pursuit realm." "Sir." The white-browed young man also said, "We've cultivated the cultivation techniques of our ancestors, and it involves invincible secret techniques. We even know many of the secrets of the clans. Once our souls are searched, it's extremely inappropriate. It's not that we don't want to cooperate, but we really can't." "That's right, sir. We are all invincible descendants. With the sun and moon strength, why would we collude with the myriad clan sect? We want to add to the crime. What can colluding with the myriad clan sect bring us?" At this moment, the sun and moon kings didn't agree. Who would agree to let others search their memories? No one would. Moreover, they were sun and moon experts, invincible descendants, and rulers of the Holy Land, so they couldn't agree. The Silkworm Extermination King smiled, disappeared. He said indifferently, "Then it's not easy to investigate. If you don't agree, Feng Qi also feels that it's inappropriate. How about asking the dead? Most of the generals who were killed didn't have their corpses intact. If there's some blood left, I'll try to go back in time, but that's very inaccurate. I can only see some fragments, but I can't verify whether it's true or not. Or someone is faking it." The white-browed young man frowned slightly and quickly said, "My lord, this is an urgent matter. Feng Qi is the most suspicious, and he confessed in advance. Now that he has started to retract his confession, I think that we should directly search his soul to determine whether it is real or fake." On the other side, Lord Xiaohu sighed. "It isn't that troublesome. How about this, let's put it to a vote. The 2 great saint lands have voted, and the parliament has not been open for many years. There are 3 invincible people present, many invincible descendants, and representatives from the various great manors. Then, let's put it to a vote. The minority will obey the majority. The results of the vote are out. No one can say that they are unwilling to do it. At the crucial moment, they will follow the overall situation." As he spoke, he quickly said, "There are 3 choices for the vote. First, soul search and sealing qi. Second, soul search and sealing qi and the 8 great families sun and moon. Third, don't search them. Take your time. Everyone, what do you think?" Some people had strange expressions on their faces. Lord Xiaohu continued, "The representatives of the 36 manors are all here. 36 votes. 1 vote for each side of the 2 great holy lands, a total of 38 votes. No, Lord Silkworm Extermination hasn't opened his manors yet, so let's count Lord as 1 vote. How about 39 votes? Silkworm Extermination had a strange look in his eyes as he said, "Then what if it's 13 to 13 to 13? Lord Xiaohu smiled and said, "It can't be such a coincidence, right?" "Of course, if it really is such a coincidence." Lord Xiaohu touched his chin and said after a long while, "Then." He looked at Zhao Tianbing, he smiled and said, let the Weapon Forging Division vote for Lord Tianzhu Wang. What do the three lords think? Lord Tianzhu Wang didn't open a mansion, but the Weapon Forging Division respected him. Many Earth-grade Weapon Forging Division here could also represent the Weapon Forging Division. The Silkworm Extinguisher King smiled, 40 votes. This is the same as when we decided whether or not to ally with the Celestials in the past. Interesting. I recall that a few hundred years ago, the great Qin King asked us to vote on whether or not we should ally with the Celestials, whether or not we should fight the Celestials and Devils to the end. Now, it's time to use it. Lord Xiaoho smiled and said, "It's fine if you don't vote. The three lords can decide for themselves." With the three unrivaled lords around, it was fine if they didn't vote. But, how would the three unrivaled lords choose? The great Han King directly said, "Then let's vote." He didn't really want to make a decision at this moment. The three choices Lord Xiaoho gave weren't good choices. Feng Qi actually represented the Xia family at this moment. As for the other 8 great families, they had been directly pushed to the opposite side by Hong Tan. This matter seemed like only a few mountains and seas had been killed, but voting. The great Han King gave Lord Xiaoho a meaningful look. This vote might not be about searching for Feng Qi, but rather about the Xia family trying to determine the situation. Let's see how the human realm is doing. Who are they supporting? If there were more people supporting the Xia family than today, there was no need to continue investigating this case. The chances of it not being settled were very high, and the Xia family would stand out. The possibility was not small. The great Han King sighed in his heart. Had the human realm reached such a stage? The internal structure had already split. The 3 results represented the 3 camps. Those who were pro-Xia, those who were against Xia, and those who were neutral. Perhaps the 3 camps could be seen from this vote. And at this moment, Hong Tan said with a smile, "Why didn't we vote separately for the 8 great families' Sun and Moon soul search?" "Marquis, isn't this inappropriate?" Marquis Xia said in a bad mood, "Cut the crap. The 8 great families Sun and Moon are only a small suspect. Feng Qi is a big suspect. No matter what, Feng Qi will be searched together with them. Don't be ungrateful." After cursing, he looked at Yuan Qingdong and the others and said with a smile, "Don't you agree? In any case, regardless of whether they will search you or not, Feng Qi will accompany you. This way, it will appear more fair." Yuan Qingdong and the others had ugly expressions on their faces. After a while, they were tortured by themselves. If it was the second result, which was the majority, would they really be searched? Just as they were hesitating, Silkworm Exterminating King said impatiently, "That's it. If you have different opinions, then lock Feng Qi up first. Send people to investigate the murderer and capture him directly. As long as the murderer is not brought to justice, Feng Qi will not be released from prison. How about it?" Just as someone wanted to speak, Silkworm Exterminating King said coldly, "Our time is limited and we don't have time to waste with you. Now, let's pursue fairness for everyone. If we delay any longer, then we don't need to be involved. You guys investigate yourselves." Once these words were said, no one spoke again. If this went on, the Silkworm Exterminating King would fly into a rage. "Then let's put it to a vote." The Silkworm Exterminating King casually waved his hand, and 39 jade talismans flew out. The representatives of the 36 prefectures all received one, and the representatives of the 2 great saint lands also received one. The other flew close to Zhao Tianbing and the others. The last one was his, so there was no need to bother about it. As for the great Han King and the great Song King, they both had the representatives of the manors present. At this moment, they were acting as if they were just bystanders and did not interfere at all. Lord Xiaoho laughed and said, "Then, everyone write down 1, 2, 3, and fill in whichever one you agree with. If it doesn't work, everyone can communicate with the manors of the manors. In half an hour, everyone will hand over the jade talismans. The Great Hall was extremely quiet. However, many representatives took out their voice transmission talismans and quickly communicated with the various manners. This matter wasn't something that they could decide. Lord Xiaohou added, "Don't worry, it's anonymous." Of course, Lord Silkworm Exterminating King knows which jade talisman corresponds to which one. I hope you can keep it a secret. Of course. Silkworm Exterminating King had a calm expression. He smiled and leaned back on his chair. He narrowed his eyes and glanced at the two people beside him. He sent a voice transmission, "Is it interesting?" The two people ignored him. It wasn't very interesting. It would only cause a lot of trouble. The Xia family and the King of Silkworm Exterminators both wanted the world to be in chaos. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1468. 1468 Chapter 338 Voting Mystery 1. Voting. At this moment, the atmosphere in the main hall was frighteningly cold. Yuan Qingdong and the others' expressions also changed at this moment. As the representatives of the sacred land, they also took a jade talisman. How were they supposed to vote? As the initiator, Lord Xiaohou, and the King of Silkworm Exterminators, who had been adding fuel to the fire, seemed to be fine at this moment. Lord Xiaohou had a smile on his face as he toyed with the jade talisman. In the weapon forging division, Zhao Tianbing's expression was extremely solemn. A few Earth-grade weapon forging division masters quickly transmitted their voices. "What should we do?" Lord Xiaohou said it simply. Vote 1, the Xia family was dissatisfied. Vote 2, infuriating the 8 great families. Vote 3, peace. Zhao Tianbing quickly transmitted his voice, "Senior Hu, what do you think we should do? We can't represent the King of Silkworm Exterminators." Hu Qi said calmly, "We can represent the weapon forging division. More than half of the weapon forging division has more than 50 Earth-tier human realm weapon forging division members. About 1/6 of them are here today. However, everyone has a few close friends. The attitude of us represents the attitude of the human realm weapon forging division. As for whether or not it's the Tianzhu King's attitude, it doesn't matter. In a war, most people who need weapons are not top-tier experts. War. The few of them were shocked. Zhao Tianbing quickly looked at Hu Qi with a solemn expression. He turned his head and looked at the smiling Lord Xiaohou, and his expression became even more solemn. At this moment, a shadow appeared at the door. A figure covered in light and shadow. A person walked in. He said indifferently, "I think it's best to vote 1. Actually, there's not much to choose. The person was killed by Qin Yong. Why do you all have to be so muddle-headed when you know this? Everyone knows very well whether the 8 great clans are colluding with the Myriad clan cult. The Myriad clan cult doesn't have the right to make the 8 great clans collude." The person who came was full of vigor and imposing manner. At this moment, someone recognized him. An old man with a powerful aura. 8th stage Sun-Moon realm. In the Pursuit realm, one of the 8 clan heads of the 8 great clans, the second son of the Zhou clan, the son of the great Zhou king, and the younger brother of Zhou Patian, Zhou Pochong. The old man stepped into the main hall and bowed slightly to the 3 invincible clans. At this moment, he was no longer as low-key and quiet as before. Instead, he was full of vigor. The great Han King sighed and closed his eyes. The Silkworm Exterminating King smiled and said, "Pochong, did your father send you here?" "No, I only represent Chiu Sua Holy Land." The Silkworm Exterminating King smiled. "Interesting, Chiu Sua realm, can you represent it?" Zhou Pochong looked at the King of Silkworm Extermination and said calmly, "The Seeking realm is controlled by the 8 great clans. Since the world does not recognize the sacred land as a sacred land, then the sacred land is the sacred land of the 8 great clans. I represent the sacred land, and the 8 mastery realm clans have no objections. The king of Silkworm Extermination smiled again. As you wish. I will not get involved. Thank you, king of Silkworm Extermination. Zhou Pochong bowed slightly and looked around. He said indifferently, Chen Yong killed the generals of the military and massacred all over the place. His crime cannot be pardoned. It's obvious, but it has to be so complicated. Feng Qi has admitted his crime and is already a sinner. If that's the case, do we still need a referendum? He looked at everyone and said coldly, in addition, Chen Yong has already become a devil. Since he has become a devil, then he should be killed. On the other side, Hong Tan stood up and looked at him. He said coldly, Zhou Pochong, do you have the final say? I have the final say. Zhou Pochong looked at him. I represent the Seeker realm and the Holy Land. The Pavilion Elder of the Civilized Academy is also under the management of the Seeker realm. If he makes a mistake, the Seeker realm has the right to take care of it. He has the right to take care of it. Hong Tan, don't make mistakes again and again. Hong Tan's blood was boiling. He looked at him with an even more sinister gaze. Zhou Pochong, I've made mistakes again and again. Don't make mistakes again and again. People who are kind will be bullied by others. You're used to bullying our lineage. Do you really think that it's a matter of course? Hong Tan's gaze was cold. My lineage is for the world, for the human realm, and for everyone. How much has been sacrificed? Others may not know, but how can you not know? You have to shed all pretense of cordiality with me. Do you really think you can represent the world? Zhou Pochong said coldly, sacrifice. Everyone in the world is giving. Hong Tan, don't make yourself sound too noble. Your master has attained the Tao and forcefully attained the Tao. How much has been wronged and how much has been lost? Do you really have to explain everything that happened more than 50 years ago so clearly? All these years, whatever treatment you have suffered, it is all the evil consequences that Yi Batian has brought upon himself. Evil consequences? Hong Tan's aura exploded as he shouted coldly, evil consequences. You call this evil consequences? Without that incident, would it be your turn to develop peacefully for 50 years? For the past 50 years, our lineage has been at the mercy of others. For what? Hong Tan flew into a rage as he said coldly, we don't owe you anything. The feelings of the undefeatable fall from the past have already been repaid. Even Zhou Polong has been put down. Who do you think you are? Did your father die because of my master? Bastard! Zhou Pochong shouted in a low voice as a cold glint flashed in his eyes, Hong Tan, think carefully before you speak. The 3 undefeatable existences are here, and you are insulting a king who opened a prefecture. Back then, when the prefecture was opened, you saved billions of people from water and fire. You are insulting the #1 civilized master in the human realm. Hong Tan, do you want to die? Hong Tan Wenbing appeared, and he raised his sword and shield as he looked at him, you want to kill me? Bring it on. Zhou Pochong, you want to kill me with just a piece of trash like you? For decades, you have still been a piece of trash. In the past, you were hacked into a dog-like shape by my master's axe, but today, you have become so arrogant. You are courting death. Zhou Pochong was furious, and at this moment, the king of Silkworm Extermination laughed. Alright, what are you doing? You two have put up enough of an act. It's time to vote. If you want to fight one-on-one, you can come back after the voting is over. After we leave, there will be one less person to kill. Don't do this in front of us. The king of Silkworm Exterminators had a playful look on his face. After fighting for so many years, you haven't had enough fun, have you? In the future, there will be plenty for you to play with. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1469. 1469 Chapter 338 Voting Mystery 2. After saying that, he said calmly, everyone has decided to vote. As for the rest, I won't say any more. Zhou Pochong fell silent. On the other side, Hong Tan had also given up. Fighting to the death in front of Invincible was just a joke. How could they fight? However, after a moment of silence, Zhou Pochong suddenly said, even if the murderer is really Qin Yong, we can spare Qin Yong's life and send him to the vanguard unit. In the vanguard battle, every battle must come first. He looked at everyone and said slowly, a small-scale battle has started at the front line. The vanguard army of the gods and demons has arrived at the eastern warzone. The immortal realm has opened up, and the 18 factions of the immortal realm have already moved out. Chen Bing's northern defense line. In the middle of the chaotic land, the coalition army of the demons has moved out to threaten the western defense line. The dragon race has asked the human realm to hand over all the captured dragons. They are taking advantage of the situation and adding insult to injury. The alliance of the 32 realm small territories asked the human race to withdraw from occupying the small realms. Zhou Pochong enunciated each word and finished the report of the battle on the front line. He said passionately, great chaos is coming. 10,000 races are going to riot, and 10,000 worlds are going to be in turmoil. Everyone, can the human realm still be in chaos at this moment? For Qin Yong. For Feng Qi. To mess with my human realm? He looked at Lord Xiaoho and said in a loud voice, Xia Longwu is about to attain the Tao. According to the current situation, he will definitely die. I think Lord Xiaoho knows what his only chance of survival is. Some things that were not easy to say in the past have been explained thoroughly today. Lord Xiaoho remained silent. Zhou Pochong shouted, do you have to ruin your own future? Does a human realm have the ability to break through the myriad clan alliance? This is a calamity. A great calamity of life and death. A calamity that surpassed 400 years ago. The hearts of the people were shaken. At the weapon forging district. At this moment, Suyu somewhat understood. He had understood some things that he did not quite understand in the past. This was the tribulation. The tribulation of the human realm. And some people were used to overcome the tribulation. Some people were destined to be sacrificed and used to stall for time for the sake of the human realm, the world, and the common people. A few people for 100 years. Was it worth it? It was worth it. At this moment, Suyu thought of a question that Bai Feng asked him in the past. Was it right or wrong for Xia Yuan to kill enemies on the battlefield and use ordinary soldiers to bait Ling Yun? Wasn't killing one Ling Yun better than killing 100 ordinary soldiers? That day, Suyu didn't say anything at first. He had a vague feeling that it had nothing to do with him. In fact, it was nothing. Later on, Bai Feng asked again, was your father among the soldiers? Suyu said that Xia Yuan deserved to be killed. Today, the same situation. Was it worth sacrificing a few people to exchange for 100 years of peace in the human realm? Perhaps, it was worth it. But when those people were your master, your uncle master, and your grand teacher, was it worth it? They deserved to be killed. The people who came up with this idea deserved to be killed. It was a double-standard idea, but it was the truth. If these people were others and had nothing to do with themselves, what did 100 years of peace have to do with me? However, these people weren't others. At this moment, Suyu looked at everyone inside in his heart. Who could he blame? Just now, he was thinking to himself, if these people weren't his teachers, would he still be so persistent? Even he himself wasn't firm. How could he expect others to be firm? Multi-god text. The multi-god text of the Great Xia Manor isn't the world's multi-god text. At this moment, Suyu was enlightened. I think too much. I always feel that Invincible is a fool. Don't you know what it means for the 10,000 races to be so afraid of multi-god text? Right now, many things are telling themselves that they know what it means. However, you guys can't represent the world's multi-god text. Perhaps, in the eyes of the world, you guys are just abnormal creatures. The tribulation chi in his eyes flashed and disappeared. The tribulation, character divine text was about to advance. Tier 4, it might become the first tier 4 divine text. He looked at Bai Feng in the arena, looked at Hong Tan. And finally, looked at Lord Xia Ho. Bitter. At this moment, he finally saw too many things clearly. As expected, only at this moment could he distinguish some things. The Xia family was still on the side of the multi-divine text. Just as he was thinking, Lord Xia Ho suddenly said, "The Xia family doesn't want to get involved too much, but there are some things that I want to make clear. The Dragon Martial Dao is a major matter. Now, everything will be based on the Dragon Martial Dao. As for the rest, everyone, don't go too far." Su Yu was stunned and absent-minded. What did Waiter Xia mean? It hasn't even started yet, and you want to quit already? Beside him, someone secretly kicked him. Su Yu turned his head, and Xia Huyo had a smile on his face. He sent a voice transmission, "The Xia family's knife is a little blunt. Blunt knives don't hurt people. Knives that don't hurt people, everyone dares to touch and dare to look. Now that it's sharpened, it's too sharp. No one dares to look anymore." Su Yu looked at him and didn't say anything. Xia Huyo looked at him with a smile again. He transmitted his voice to Su Yu again, "Let me tell you a story. There was a tiger. When it was in its prime, it was extremely ferocious. Everyone was afraid of it and didn't dare to provoke it. They stayed far away from it. Later on, the tiger was a little old. Its claws fell off and its teeth fell off. However, the tiger's power was still there. Someone wanted to beat it. The tiger bared its fangs and brandished its claws, and scared people away again. One day, a hunter came. He was very brave and felt that the tiger was getting old. He wanted to test it out. The tiger bared its fangs and brandished its claws for a while. Suddenly, it panted and told the hunter, "Don't provoke me. I'm not old yet, and I can still bite people to death. Brother Chui, do you think the hunter will leave, or will he beat the tiger?" Su Yu was silent for a moment and transmitted his voice, "Beat the tiger." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1470. 1470 Chapter 338 Voting Mystery Subscription, 3. Yes, but the hunter was still a little scared, so he called the surrounding 10 or so hunters to come together. That tiger bared its fangs and brandished its claws for a while, telling everyone breathlessly, "Don't provoke me. I'm very difficult to provoke. You're a hunter, what do you think?" Su Yu thought for a moment and transmitted his voice, "Bluff. This tiger, can't do it. Let's go together, kill this tiger, and split the tiger's meat." Xia Huyo bared his teeth and sent another telepathic message, "Yes, it's a bluff tiger. That's why everyone dares to attack. Tell me, if this tiger doesn't say anything and just looks at you coldly, do you dare to attack?" "I don't dare." "That's right. That's why this tiger has to make a sound. It has to bluff and intimidate. That's why everyone dares to attack and kill it." Xia Huyo's smile was brilliant. He transmitted his voice again, "Of course, this tiger isn't completely dead yet. It still has a treasure to guard. So if you're a hunter, what should you do now? Just watch. Don't leave. Wait. When the other hunters arrive, it's best for someone to test it out first. If it's really strong on the outside but weak on the inside, kill this tiger side by side. Split the tiger's meat and get the treasure." Xia Huyo continued, "By then, will there be many hunters?" "There will be many. Those who want to kill the tiger will most likely come. Then tell me, if the tiger suddenly grows claws and teeth before it dies, what will be the result? Su Yu sighed softly and let out a sigh. He did not say anything else. At this moment, he completely understood what the Xia clan wanted to do. This tiger was the Xia family. It was bluffing, threatening, but it didn't dare to make a move. It waited for the hunters to surround and capture it. When the hunters arrived, this tiger would kill all the hunters before it died. Perhaps the little tiger would still be alive, perhaps the treasure that protected it would still be alive. At this moment, he completely understood. He completely understood why the Xia family seemed to be ruthless time and time again, but in reality, they only dabbled with it every time. The Xia family was telling others that, in fact, I was weak. This was also fishing. The fishing line stretched and relaxed. The old fisherman. Newbies only liked to drag the line directly. In the end, the hook broke, the line broke, the rod was gone, and nothing was caught. The old fisherman was very patient. They could stretch and relax the line, sometimes loosening the line to let you bite harder. Now, the fish had taken the bait. However, the bite was not tight. Moreover, if this fisherman wanted to fish all the fish around him, he had to be more patient. It was best to wait until all the fish had taken the bait before pulling back the rod. He was afraid that this line, this hook, this rod, would not be able to hold on. Su Yu fell into deep thought. In the middle of the field, Lord Xia threatened. There was a hint of being fierce on the surface, but weak on the inside. He felt a little weak. The threat was over, Lord Xiaohou said impatiently, no matter what, this is the Great Xia Manor. Feng Qi is from the Great Xia Manor. I hope everyone will reconsider. In addition, Chen Yong is not a sinner, not a criminal. Zhou Pachong, don't call him Chen Yong. Let's put it this way. Everyone vote. Don't waste any more time. After saying that, he carved a word on the jade talisman. No one saw what he wrote. 1. Yes, 1. Search the soul to seal the mystery, not the 8 great clans. Lord Xiaohou handed the jade talisman to the silkworm exterminating king. The silkworm exterminating king looked at him meaningfully, and there was an indescribable meaning in his eyes. Lord Xiaohou voted 1. Search the soul to seal the mystery. At this moment, the representative of the Daming Manor suddenly walked over and looked at Hu Qi. He said, Elder Hu, the manor head means that you are voting on behalf of the Daming Manor. Hu Qi was slightly startled. Me? In the next moment, she vaguely understood Zhu Tiandao's meaning. He wanted her to look for Su Yu. As for how Daming Manor would vote this time, it would depend on Su Yu. Of course, Hu Qi naturally felt that there was no need to ask. Voting for, too, of course she had to investigate the 8 great clans. Manor head wants to do a favor again. Hu Qi was also speechless. He even wanted to do a favor. She directly sent a voice transmission to Su Yu, then I'll vote for 2. Manor head might have guessed something. She didn't tell Manor head, but Zhu Tiandao was very smart. She was clear on this point and might have guessed it. Otherwise, Zhu Tiandao would have already contacted the representative. There was no need for him to come and look for her to vote. As for Su Yu, he hesitated for a moment and quickly sent a voice transmission, wait a moment. Hu Qi was slightly startled. Many things flashed through Su Yu's mind, including Xia Huyo's words. He then raised his head to look at Lord Xia. Lord Xia seemed to be observing something as he looked around. When he saw Su Yu, his eyes met for a moment before he smiled, he quickly averted his gaze. Release the line, take the bait. Many thoughts flashed through Su Yu's mind. Xia Huyo, who was at the side, also had a smile on his face. It was as if he did not feel any danger from the Xia family. A fierce tiger can't attract a big fish. As these thoughts appeared in his mind, Suyu suddenly looked at Feng Qi in the main hall. He glanced at him and lowered his head. Martial Uncle had asked Martial Uncle Feng Qi to come back. Martial Uncle, in the past, he had let Jai Feng, Huang Qifeng, and the others suffer a great misfortune. It was extremely easy. Just because someone had testified that they were the ones who had asked him to spread rumors, it confirmed his guilt. They forced Zhou Mingren to resign from his position as deputy principal. Can it be hidden from Invincible? Suyu vaguely knew Uncle Master's plan. Uncle Master Feng Qi needed to be searched for his soul to prove his innocence. It would be a bad thing if his soul was not searched. Uncle Master Feng Qi would not be free. Elder Hu, vote for 1. In front, Hu Qi's heart trembled slightly. Vote for 1. Why did he have to vote for 1? Suyu actually didn't say to let the people of the 8 great families be searched for their souls together. What did this mean? Zhu Tiandao gave the right to choose to Suyu. Why did he have to choose? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1471. 1471 Chapter 338 Voting Mystery 4. If Zhu Tiandao really wanted to do him a favor, he might as well vote for 2. There was no need to ask again. At this moment, Hu Qi also had many thoughts. She did not think about anything else. In the next moment, the word 1 was carved on the jade talisman. Then vote 1. Yuan Qingdong and the others felt as if they were sitting on pins and needles. They were very nervous. Zhou Pochong walked over and transmitted his voice. What are you afraid of? We will definitely win. Who would offend the 8 great clans just for Feng Qi? That means that the 8 of them are invincible. All of you, contact the various great manors. Qingdong, contact the Yuan Mansion. Zhang Ying, contact the Liang Mansion. Zhou Pochong quickly made arrangements. Very quickly, he walked over to the Great Zhou Mansion. 40 votes. There was still 1 vote left for those in the search stage. There were 39 votes outside. If they obtained 19 votes, they would definitely win. Of course, this vote would not only decide the fate of Feng Qi and the others. Perhaps, it would be the first time they would be able to discern the future direction of the human realm. All the families were transmitting their voices continuously, discussing and discussing. One by one, jade talismans were handed over to the Silkworm Exterminating King. The Silkworm Exterminating King casually threw them on the table with a smile on his face. At this moment, the great Han King opened his mouth and said, Silkworm Exterminating King, how did you choose? The Silkworm Exterminating King laughed, me? I just wanted to watch the show. I forfeited. I voted for 3rd and didn't even investigate. The great Han King looked at him deeply and didn't ask any more questions. The Silkworm Exterminating King laughed, what about the 2 of you? These 2 represented the attitude of the 2 manors. The great Song King laughed, I'll vote for 3rd too. Sigh, there are some things that are best left out of sight. As he said that, he looked at Hong Tan and Zhou Pochong. He said softly, we're old friends. To be honest, we fought together in the past. Now, we have to part ways because of some things. I don't know who's right and who's wrong. Who's right and who's wrong? He might not be able to explain it clearly, but at this moment, his emotions were still a little complicated. The Silkworm King smiled and ignored this matter. He continued collecting the jade talismans and reminded everyone, it's time to hurry up. There are 28 votes now, and there are still 12 more. Don't end up with a draw for me. That won't be fun anymore. At this moment, there was still 1 vote left for the weapon forging division. Just as everyone was feeling troubled, Zhao Li walked over and shouted, what are you doing? Vote. Vote 2. If you want to do a soul search, do it together. Since it's difficult, I'll make the decision. If you're afraid, I'm not afraid. At this moment, countless people turned to look at Zhao Li. Zhao Li harumphed. Even if Zhou Pechong looked at him, he wasn't afraid. He said unhappily, "What are you looking at? So what if I vote for two? My Zhao clan has been forging soldiers for generations and owes my Zhao clan a lot of favors. Back then, my father forged soldiers and rarely collected money. If I vote, do you still dare to kill me?" Zhao Tianbing was also speechless. This junior brother was really crazy for Su Yu. Even though he was helpless. Zhao Tianbing still said, "Then vote too. It's more fair. We want to solve the case and also want to be more fair. Of course, this time, it only represents the opinions of my senior and junior brothers. It doesn't represent the weapon forging division. If you feel that it's inappropriate, you can take back this vote." Hu Qi directly said, "I agree, then vote too." Although she felt that it was a little strange that Su Yu chose to vote one, at this moment, she still chose to stand on Zhao Li's side to prevent these two from fighting alone. Old Chen from the Great Xia Manor also said coldly, "I agree to vote too." "I agree too." A few people didn't say anything, but a few earth ranks all said that they would vote too. Very quickly, the outcome was decided. This was also the first faction on the scene to clearly decide which faction they would vote for. Of course, in everyone's eyes, the Great Xia Manor would definitely choose two, the Armament Division would choose two, the Great Ming Manor would very likely choose two, and the Great Qin Manor would also very likely choose two. In total, at least 4 great manors would choose two. As for the War God Hall, it would most likely choose two. Since it didn't have much to do with the War God Hall, the War God Hall would most likely be happy to maintain fairness. That would be at least 5 votes. The number of jade talismans in the Silkworm Exterminating King's hands increased. When he received the jade talismans from the Great Ming Palace, the Silkworm Exterminating King's heart stirred slightly. He didn't say anything and continued to mess with the jade talismans, as if he was playing with them. In front of him, there were 35 jade talismans. There were only 5 left. Great Zhou Prefecture, Great Qin Prefecture. None of the powerful prefectures had voted. After a while, the Great Zhou Prefecture and Great Qin Prefecture had voted. At this moment, there were 40 jade talismans in front of him, including the Silkworm Extermination King's own. At this moment, everyone looked at the Silkworm Extermination King. He was the host because he was not the king of the first prefecture, so his attitude was relatively neutral. As for the king of Silkworm Extermination himself, there was a high chance that he would vote 3 times and abstain. At this moment, the king of Silkworm Extermination casually threw his own jade talisman in. It clearly said 1, and he agreed with soul searching. All of them have voted. The king of Silkworm Extermination chuckled and said, "I'm really a little excited. Tell me, what do you think the final result will be?" The great Han King said indifferently, "We don't know." "Didn't you already know?" The Silkworm Exterminating King chuckled, "You say that. Then someone has to preside over it, right? Of course, you can pretend that I don't know." As he said that, he casually tossed the jade talismans into the air. The 40 jade talismans spun at an astonishing speed. At this moment, even the other 2 invincible kings could not see clearly. In order to not let the Great Han and Great Song kings know who voted for what, I won't let them know who voted for what. I don't want those who disagree to be retaliated by them. I'm an extremely honest person. As for me, everyone, don't worry. I didn't open a prefecture, nor did I have any descendants. I only have a few students. Other things have nothing to do with me. Furthermore, my students and I are all fighters. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1472. 1472 Chapter 338 Voting Mystery 5. Silkworm Extermination King said with a smile, everyone is curious, not curious. What is the final result? Everyone looked at him silently. Nonsense. The key was, open it. Silkworm Extermination King was not in a hurry. He chuckled and said, to be honest, this kind of secret voting is the most fun, the most interesting. Then I'll open it now. Open it one by one to give everyone a sense of anticipation. Not giving the others a chance to refuse, he casually picked up a jade talisman and said with a smile, I don't know who voted for this one. It's soul-searching, Funchi. Everyone was silent. The second one is still one. It's over, Funchi. I think you might have to bear the soul-searching alone. The third one is still one. TSK, you guys are really ruthless. Zhou Pochong, you brat, you've changed the general trend with your arrival. Amazing. The fourth card is 3. Not bad, it's actually 3. Who can't do this? It's actually complete, just a fence-sitter. Many people looked at him speechlessly. Voting 3 was just a fence-sitter. What about you? What did you vote for? Below the stage, Suyu held his chair and did not say a word. He watched as the king of silkworm exterminators was counting his votes. The 18th vote was 3. At this point, 1 was 10 votes, 2 was 3 votes, and 3 was 5 votes. 1 represented the enemy Xia faction. 2 was pro-Xia faction. 3 was neutral faction. However, there was a huge gap now. On the stage, the king of silkworm exterminating shook his head and said, what a pity. Continue. The 19th vote, cast 3. 20 votes, cast 2. The votes are halfway. Feng Qi, you've cast 10 votes. Zhang Ying, the few of you only have 4 votes. It looks like there's no need for a soul search. The king of silkworm exterminators laughed and said, what a pity. I still want to search a few more for fun. Silkworm exterminators, hurry up. The king of Great Han frowned slightly. He had had enough fun. The king of silkworm exterminators laughed and continued to count the votes. Very soon, the votes had reached 30 votes. The king of silkworm exterminators said nervously, 14 votes for the first vote, 7 votes for the second vote, and 9 votes for the third vote. There are still 10 votes left. There are 2 more votes for the first vote, and that is Feng Qi. The neutral vote had already reached 9 votes. Out of a total of 31 votes, 16 votes would definitely win. This time, Yuan Qingdong and the others secretly heaved a sigh of relief. There were still 10 votes left, they would definitely win. Even if they could not get 2 votes, with a little more neutral votes, they would still win. The gap was huge. 31 votes, number 2, Feng Qi, you luckily escaped a calamity. 32 votes, number 2, TSK, Feng Qi, you escaped another calamity. In the middle of the hall, Feng Qi felt a little helpless. After a long while, he said, my lord, whether it's 1 or 2, my soul will be searched. How did I escape a calamity? Silkworm King was stunned. The next moment, he laughed loudly and said, yes. That's right, you can't escape. Then, let's see Yuan Qingdong and the others. 33 votes, number 3. September 14th, 10. It's time for the match point. Silkworm King said excitedly, let's see if it's number 1. If it's number 1, then the overall situation is set. Anyway, if we lose again, it'll be a draw. 34 votes. Unfortunately, number 2 is finished. October 14th, 10, there are still 6 votes left. The Xia family isn't bad. They actually have 9 families supporting you. 35 votes, it's the second again. This time, the sun and moon of the 8 families were a little nervous. Why was it always the second? 36 votes, the third. It's over. Silkworm Exterminating King said regretfully, 14 to 11 to 11. 37 votes, the third. Wow, it's really over. Silkworm Exterminating King shook his head and said, there's no need to compete. 14 to 11 to 12, the rest are all the second. It's only a draw. Feng Qi has no hope of winning. Lord Xiaohe was silent for a moment before he said slowly, let's continue. The King of Silkworm Extermination chuckled and continued, 38 votes, number 2. 39 votes, number 2. At this moment, the great Han King was energized. He smiled and said, it's the last vote. So, 14 to 13. If it's number 2, then it's a draw. The King of Silkworm Extermination nodded and smiled. That's right. It's a draw. Let's go with number 3. It was the last vote. The King of Silkworm Extermination looked around and smiled meaningfully. He held the last jade talisman in his hand and it showed number 2. It was a draw. It was a true draw. However, when he picked up the jade talisman, the word 2 instantly turned into the word 1. The King of Silkworm Extermination looked at it and said regretfully, number 1. 15 to 13. I'm sorry, Feng Qi. Only you will be soul-searched and you won't be able to bring anyone with you. Yuan Qingdong and the others heaved a sigh of relief. Zhou Pochong also heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, of the 15 votes, 12 were neutral. The Xia family and his allies only obtained 13 votes, and one of them was from the blacksmith faction. This didn't even count. They heaved a sigh of relief, but Lord Xiaohe was a little absent-minded. He leaned back on his chair, a little dejected, and didn't say a word. On the other side, Hong Tan was also absent-minded. As for the Silkworm Exterminating King, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. The heck! Great Xia Manor, Daming Manor, including himself, had changed 1 vote in the end, and he had obtained 13 votes. If he didn't change it, wouldn't he have to obtain 17 votes? The 8 great clans had actually obtained 11 votes. Of course, on the side of Daming Manor. They didn't understand the situation. 17 votes. Even excluding the blacksmith faction, there were still 16 votes. 16 to 11, 12 neutral clans. Silkworm Extermination King secretly rejoiced. Fortunately. Glancing at Zhou Pochong and the others, seeing that they were relieved, he smiled. Satisfied? He didn't say anything more and directly said, Feng Qi has lost. Then Feng Qi will be soul-searched alone. The 8 great clans don't need the sun and moon. Hong Tan, acting head Xia, this is the result of everyone's vote. You have to acknowledge it and stop pestering us. Lord Xiaohe said calmly, admit it. I admit my loss. I just did not think that I would really lose and reach this stage. 15 votes in favor of only searching Feng Qi's soul. Heh, impressive. Below the stage, Suyu was feeling somewhat stifled. He was thinking, other than himself, which number did the Xia family vote for? Number 1 or number 2? If the Xia family voted for number 2, that meant that there were only 14 families that were pro-Xia, including the Xia family themselves. However, if I voted for number 1 on behalf of the Daming Mansion, it would be a draw. Thinking of this, Suyu felt a little more at ease. In fact, it was much better than he had expected. In his opinion, it should be considered a draw. Not bad. At least not all of them were leaning towards the 8 great families. The other neutral factions were too lazy to say anything. If these people did not cause trouble and did not interfere, that would be the best choice. Fortunately, there's still a battle to be fought. Suyu was actually a little surprised. The Xia family was already in such a state, yet they were still able to rope in so many people. As expected, a skinny camel was bigger than a horse. As for Lord Xia, he was actually feeling a little nervous. He didn't know what the specific situation was like, and whether the silkworm exterminators had done any work. He hoped that the results would be as he had expected. Otherwise, the human realm would be in chaos. At this moment, the Great Han and Great Song kings had looks of pity on their faces, and no one spoke a word. As expected, the world was divided into three parts. The support of the many divine inscriptions faction and the Xia clan was not low, but it was still a little lower than expected. From the looks of it, the Xia clan's prestige had really dropped over the years. 15 to 13, it might not seem like a huge difference, but among the 13, there was still the weapon forging division. 15 to 12. This meant that the addition of 3 unrivaled experts was in favor of the 8 great clans. At this point, the outcome was set. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1473. 1473 Chapter 339 Wind Vein 1. The results of the voting were out. It was a little quiet. Marquis Xia was leaning back on his chair at this moment, looking at the ceiling of the main hall, as if he was in a daze. Below the stage, some people's expressions changed again and again, and news spread out one after another. The Great Xia Manor had lost. The Great Xia Manor, or rather, the pro-war faction, had lost. The Great Ming Manor. On Yuexin Island. Zhu Tiandao was playing chess with Niu Baidao when he received a voice transmission. He said softly, 15 to 13, the main fighting faction is only going to search the soul and seal the qi with 15 votes. Niu Baidao was slightly stunned. He looked at him, holding the chess piece in his hand. After a while, he said in a low voice, how did the main fighting faction choose? The main fighting faction had lost. The final struggle of the Great Xia Manor had been crushed by this straw. Zhu Tiandao placed the stone and said softly, I've left it to Su Yu to choose. Niu Bendao laughed dryly and said, is that so? Su Yu is in closed-door cultivation. Oh. Zhu Tiandao nodded indifferently. Then let's enter closed-door cultivation for a period of time. Niu Bendao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He knew that it would be difficult to hide it from this person, so he didn't care too much about it. Niu Bendao said in a deep voice, Manor Head, actually, I still want to ask, is the Great Ming Manor fighting or making peace? What do you think? Zhu Tiandao asked back. Niu Bendao thought for a long time, he said, we aren't ready. The gods and demons aren't ready either. Even the immortals haven't made up their minds yet. Right now, both sides are afraid of each other. 100 years later, the humans are ready. The gods, demons, immortals, and demons are also ready. At that time, even if you have a few more invincible ones, you might not be able to gain any advantage. If you feel that you want to fight, then should we start now? Zhu Tiandao said with a smile, is that what you mean? No, I don't advocate an all-out war right now. Niu Baidao shook his head and said, however, we need to start making preparations for a large-scale regional war right now. The military preparations need to start. At this moment, it's not appropriate to take a step back. We need to fight to the death to make the fiend gods fear us. We need to maintain peace in the general direction, but we need to rely on killing and deterrence. Niu Bendao continued, the gods and demons are actually just testing the waters. Previously, when they asked us to hand over Su Yu and the others, they were only trying to judge the situation of the human race. They even maliciously split the human race into invincible factions. Manor Head should know this as well. Zhu Tiandao nodded slightly, I know, but after 100 years of peace, there are a few more invincible factions. They even secretly allowed some fellows to rise up. 100 years isn't a short period. It's actually normal for someone to agree. Niu Bendao nodded and smiled. It's normal. Let's not talk about this. Manor head, I still have to ask, what is the great Ming Manor's intention? What is the great Ming King's intention? Zhu Tiandao pondered for a moment before opening his mouth to speak. You and my father are old friends. There's no need to hide some things. Actually, the great Ming Manor's attitude was neutral from the start. You know this as well. As for now, I still need to wait and consider. Wait for what? Hope. Hope. Niu Baidao asked hesitantly, who gave you hope? Zhu Tiandao smiled and said, don't tell me you think it's Su Yu. This kid is still lacking. The hope I want is Lu Wenyan, Hong Tan, and perhaps Qin Yong. Zhu Tiandao sighed lightly and said, the fifth generation failed. I don't know if there's any hope for his disciples, but I still hope that they can give us hope. As for those that the other fellows secretly nurtured. After a pause, Zhu Tiandao shook his head and sighed once more, they are very strong. I have actually seen a few of them. The sun and the moon have already appeared, but the feeling they give me is too conventional. They are much stronger than ordinary single divine inscriptions, much stronger than most divine inscriptions, however, they are too conventional. They don't give me the feeling that they are sweeping across the world. They are the only ones who are unrivaled. He shook his head in disappointment, whether it's Yi Batian, Lu Wenyan, or even Xia Yunqi and the others who failed, they can all give me some hope. I, Yi Batian, will succeed. Even if I fail, I will turn the world upside down. But the few people I met didn't give me such a feeling. They have pride, strength, and talent, but they just lack some of that feeling. What feeling? Niu Baidao smiled and said, do you need that feeling of being insufferably arrogant? No. Zhu Tiandao couldn't help but laugh and said, I can't explain it clearly. In short, compared to the invincible ones I've seen before, it's just a little lacking, so I'm not too optimistic. Niu Baidao understood. So you still hope to see more hope, right? Yes. Zhu Tiandao smiled and said, otherwise, the Zhu family will be more neutral and can only go with the flow. Niu Baidao hesitated for a moment and said, what about Su Yu? Him. Zhu Tiandao thought about it again and again, if he can have the sun and moon battle strength within 3 years, my Zhu family will go all out to help him attain Dao. 3 years should not be enough for an all-out war to break out. If he can have the sun and moon battle strength, I will fully support him to go on. The requirements are too high. Niu Baidao shook his head. He is still young, only 19 years old. 3 years later, he will only be 22 years old. You have such high requirements for him. Can you live with your conscience? Nonsense. The old Zhu family is risking their lives. If he does not give me great hope, how can I drag the Zhu family in Daming Manor down with me? Speaking up to this point, Zhu Tiandao smiled and said, let's not talk about this anymore. From the looks of it, it is actually not bad. I did not ask that brat Su Yu who he voted for, but on the Xia family's side, there is a high probability that they voted for Feng Qi. Zhu Tiandao smiled and said, the situation isn't bad. Even if it's a draw, it's still okay. It means that most of the invincible are still willing to fight, including those from the neutral faction. Some of them just want to see more hope, not that they don't dare to fight. As long as the Xia family can give everyone some hope, they can still attract most of the people. They're just afraid that everyone will see despair. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1474. 1474 Chapter 339 Wind Vein 2. Niu Baidao did not say anything else. He looked into the distance and towards the north. That was the location of the Great Xia Manor. Let's give everyone a glimmer of hope. Currently, many people were hesitating and did not dare to make up their minds. It was because there was too little hope. Although adversity was bitter, many experts rose up from adversity. Many of the divine runes in the Great Xia Manor had not been extinguished for many years, however, there were some people who hoped to see some light. Even Lu Wenyan, who had inherited the legacy of the fifth generation, was still alive. Most people still hoped that he could survive. They hoped that he could succeed. Even if he was the same as the fifth generation, they were also eager to see that tiny bit of possibility. Great Xia Manor. In the main hall, the silkworm exterminating king smiled and said, "Then let's search his soul and seal qi." Does everyone have any other opinions? No one said anything. The silkworm exterminating king did not say anything more. His figure flashed and instantly appeared in front of Feng Qi. He turned his head to look at the great Han King and the others, he smiled and said, "Let's take a look together. Don't search his soul once. Who knows, we still have to continue. If we come a few times, he will be crippled. At that time, it will be hard to explain." The great Han King and great Song King looked at each other and instantly appeared in front of him. The three of them looked at Feng Qi. Feng Qi was much calmer now. He looked at the three invincible kings and said, "My lords, Feng Qi wants to ask, if after the soul's search, I am innocent, Brother Chen is innocent, and the others are guilty, what should we do?" As soon as he said this, the silkworm exterminating king said meaningfully, "The others? You mean when you were attacked in the Starry Palace?" "That's right." The silkworm exterminating king pondered for a moment and said, "Hong Tan said before that appearance and aura might not mean anything." Feng Qi said in a deep voice, "I know, but since it has been investigated, shouldn't we also conduct a soul search and check? Because the other party is a suspect. If the other party's soul search had happened before, then naturally, it would be true. Just like now, if I conduct a soul search and the matter of Qin Yong killing appears, would those lords capture Qin Yong and conduct a soul search to verify it?" "Yes." The king of silkworm exterminators smiled and said, "Of course they would. After all, someone saw it, so they still need to verify it. Verifying it would only give you suspects a chance to defend yourselves. Then, according to what the Lord said, in my memory, some people who were attacked in the past appeared. This person was also at the scene, so they would search his soul, right?" The king of silkworm exterminators nodded. "That's right." Feng Qi smiled and glanced at Zhou Mingren. One of them was Qian Jun, who Feng Qi had called out to earlier. At this moment, Zhou Mingren said calmly, "Sir, memory search. If I remember correctly, I can only search some shallow memories. It's difficult to dig out the deep memories of recent memories, right?" As soon as these words were said, Qian Jun did not change his expression, but he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. The silkworm exterminating king said with a smile, "Yes, for example, the great Han King and the others. Under the circumstances of searching, they were able to find the memories of the past 3 months. That's considered pretty good luck. However, I'm different. I'm the king of time. Little Zhou, I'll teach you this time. To me, if I go back in time, let alone 19 years ago, even 190 years ago, I can go back in time for you. Is it interesting?" The great Han King could not help but laugh. "Silkworm extermination, why are you putting so much face on yourself in front of this junior? No matter what we do, it's not to the extent that we can only search the soul within 3 months, right? 3 years is still possible. If you can go back in time within 30 years, then you're considered lucky." Silkworm extermination king laughed heartily. "You're not interesting at all. You insist on telling the truth in front of this junior. It's fine. Feng Qi's trip to the Starry Palace has not even been 20 years. I'll try it later, but the cost is not small. Sigh, troublesome." When these words were said, some people could not sit still. Soul search. Everyone insisted on soul-searching Feng Qi because even if it was an invincible soul search, it did not mean that one could go back to how many years ago it was. It was usually recent or recent. They had never heard of it being able to go back to dozens of years ago. Beside Zhou Mingren, Qian Jun had a complicated expression on his face. The silkworm exterminating king did not say anything more. He reached out his hand toward Feng Qi's head and pressed one hand on his head. At this moment, Su Yu and the others felt something different. The silkworm extermination king and Feng Qi seemed to have disappeared. No, they were still there, but they seemed to have disappeared into a different spacetime. The eyes of the Great Han and Great Song kings lit up as they looked over. Su Yu and the others also had golden light in their eyes. They looked over, but they couldn't see anything. It was a dense fog. At this moment, Feng Qi was in a daze. It was as if time had been reversed. The silkworm exterminating king grabbed him and walked over together. Feng Qi saw how he had been imprisoned by the Great Xia Palace for the past few days. It flashed by, and soon, it was time for him to wake up outside the Great Wu Palace. When he arrived here, the time tunnel seemed to have changed. It trembled for a moment, and it was barely visible. The silkworm exterminating king raised his brows slightly and did not make a sound. They continued to move forward. Soon, everything was pitch black. It was a scene of Feng Qi being unconscious. Sometimes, when he opened his eyes, the scene would only flash by. He didn't see anyone, but he did see a few dead people. As they continued to move forward, Silkworm Extermination King saw Chen Yong. "Help me take care of Jia Jia." With that one sentence, Chen Yong's face disappeared. Silkworm Extermination King frowned again. At this moment, the time tunnel trembled once again, and a divine light flickered in Silkworm Extermination King's eyes. Chen Yong, how dare he? How dare he? He suppressed the trembling and continued to carry Feng Qi forward. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1475. 1475 Chapter 339 Wind Vein 3. He strode forward, stepping on the moon and chasing after the stars. Many things passed in a flash. Soon, it was the Battle of Starfall Mountain. The Silkworm Exterminating King took a few more glances, and his eyes flickered. And the moment Zhu Tiandao appeared, the time passage trembled again, and the Silkworm Exterminating King's eyes flickered with divine light as he quickly suppressed it. He didn't take a closer look. In the blink of an eye, he continued walking into the depths of his memories. What followed next was the time of hibernation. The matter of the Six Wings Divine Sect, Chen Yong's arrangements, and Feng Qi's cultivation. Those 10+ years could be considered peaceful. He walked very, very quickly. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, in the blink of an eye, 10+ years had passed. At this moment, the Silkworm Extermination King's expression changed slightly. He had expended too much energy. He saw it. He saw Chen Yong dragging the seriously injured and dying Feng Qi out of the heavenly battlefield. Many people were puzzled. How did Chen Yong bring people out? After all, there were no records. At this moment, he knew. Silkworm Extermination King knew, and the Great Han King and the others also knew. Outside the heavenly battlefield's headquarters, Chen Yong dragged the seriously injured and dying Feng Qi and drained his blood essence. He extracted the blood essence and shattered his body. Soon, he used an annihilation beast skull to wrap his sea of consciousness. He stuffed it into his sea of consciousness. Chen Yong actually didn't bring anyone out. He brought along his blood essence and sea of consciousness. Blood essence, no one would investigate it. No wonder. No wonder the previous scene had appeared before. After Feng Qi returned, he walked out of a blood pool. It turned out that he had reconstructed his physical body in the later stages, and it was no longer his original physical body. It was close to 20 years ago. Silkworm Exterminating King and the others had strange expressions on their faces. Chen Yong was so bold and talented. 20 years ago, he had actually extracted a person's blood essence to preserve the other party's sea of consciousness and smuggled him back to the human realm. It seemed like this was the first time Feng Qi himself knew that his physical body had been rebuilt later. After all, he had been unconscious at that time. The previous memory was dark, and only the image of him walking out of the blood pool could be seen. In his memories, Chen Yong was like a piece of trash, shattering his own body, shattering his bones, and scattering ashes. Feng Qi's expression was extremely frightening at this moment. This scene should have appeared in his memories before, however, he might have been too heavily injured and couldn't remember much, but his blood essence recorded everything. Silkworm Extermination King didn't care about this and continued moving forward. At this moment, there were many obstacles. The Silkworm Extermination King snorted and continued forward. Soon, the Starry Sky Mansion appeared. Waves of pressure came from all directions. This meant that there was an invincible existence here in the past. At this moment, those invincible pressure seemed to come from that era and obstructed the Silkworm Extermination King. The Silkworm Extermination King snorted coldly. How could a group of pressure from his past memories do anything to him? With a cold snort, the pressure around him disappeared. Suddenly, in the depths of his memories, someone said coldly, "Wang Hu, you bastard." Dragon Silkworm. The Silkworm Exterminating King was slightly startled. In the next moment, he suddenly cursed, "Screw you. I'm now the Silkworm Exterminating King. Wait for me to come find you in a few days and kill you." The Silkworm Exterminating King was naturally not his real name. Wang Hu. Alright, the Silkworm Exterminating King had long since denied that he was Wang Hu. He was now the Silkworm Exterminating King, unless he killed the Dragon Silkworm King to wash away his shame. With a rumble, the pressure was shattered. At this moment, the Dragon Silkworm King of the Dragon Silkworm world frowned slightly and looked at the sky. Had Wang Hu gone mad? Where did he trace back to his past? He couldn't fight the real him, so he went to the memories of others to attack him. Had he reached this stage? He couldn't kill him, but he went to kill him. How boring. The Dragon Silkworm King shook his head and ignored him. This idiot was really hard to deal with. After fighting for so many years, the Dragon Silkworm King was helpless. Even when he returned to the Dragon Silkworm world, he was attacked by that fellow several times. Fortunately, he was stronger in the Dragon Silkworm world, so he slightly suppressed that fellow. The Dragon Silkworm King didn't care about this and continued forward. Ahead of him was a vast ocean. It was boundless. In the middle of the ocean was a door, an incomparably huge door. There was only one door, and the door was closed, leading to the unknown. That was the Starry Sky Mansion. The Dragon Silkworm King was just about to bring Feng Qi into the Starry Sky Mansion, when suddenly, an incomparably powerful ripple spread out from the door. With a rumble, the memory of the Dragon Silkworm King was sent flying. F***CK. The Silkworm Extermination King cursed in a low voice. Help me. The Great Han and Great Song Kings both attacked the door, but their attacks couldn't penetrate such a long distance and hit nothing. In the next moment, the Silkworm Extermination King was suppressed by a door. With a boom, his memories were shattered. In the Great Hall, the mist around the Silkworm Exterminating King disappeared, and Feng Qi also fell into a coma. The Silkworm Exterminating King's expression was somewhat unsightly as it flashed past. He sent a voice transmission, F***CK, I can't even explore the Starry Palace in my memories. This damn place is getting more and more strange. The Great Han and Great Song Kings were also slightly shocked. The Great Song King sent a voice transmission, even you can't explore it, not even my memories. This starry palace might really be the palace of the ancient human emperor. Who knows? The silkworm exterminating king was helpless, but he quickly regained his composure. Suddenly, he looked at Qian Jun in the crowd with a cold gaze. He said faintly, Feng Qi's memories have already been searched. He has been in a coma the entire time. He did not know about the murder, but one thing is certain. Before he fainted, he was with Chen Yong. At this point, Silkworm King said calmly, there isn't enough evidence. Chen Yong killed him, but Chen Yong is a suspect. Inform the human realm to have Chen Yong return to the Great Xia Mansion and explain his recent whereabouts, including where he went and what he did after Feng Qi fell into a coma. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1476. 1476 Chapter 339 Weathervane 4. Zhou Pochong frowned and said softly, Sir, it's just an announcement. Should we let him come back on his own? The silkworm exterminating king said indifferently, what else can we do? I didn't see it, and the great Han King and the others didn't see it either, but it's a fact that Chen Yong is a suspect. If we let him come back on his own and explain everything, are we going to issue a kill order? If that's the case, you'll bear the consequences. Zhou Pochong did not say anything. Consequences? If you don't have evidence, no one knows what the consequences would be if you chased after Chen Yong. The great Han King and the great Song King looked at the silkworm exterminating king. The great Han King directly transmitted his voice, there might be something wrong with his memory. The time tunnel trembled slightly. Can you feel it? N. The silkworm exterminating king didn't mind, he said through voice transmission, that's enough. Are we really going to force the Xia family to fall out now? If they were to make peace, then they would continue to make peace. If they really found out that Chen Yong had killed someone, then of course they wouldn't let him off. But now, even if they feel that there's something wrong, it's useless. The great Song King interjected, then how are we going to explain this to the great Qin King and the others? We must have an explanation for this matter. Otherwise, who will be in charge when the morale of the army is in turmoil? It's fine. When this matter is over, the three of us will conduct a full human realm investigation. We will only capture those two fellows from the Six Wings God sect and force the myriad clans to abandon their soldiers and protect their chariots. These two fellows will soon be abandoned, and killing them will make things easier for you. The three of them were invincible, and they were searching the human realm 24/7. The pressure on the myriad clans was immense, and they might end up throwing out those two suns and moons to vent their anger. Otherwise, if they continued this large-scale search, they might expose even more people. The great Song King was helpless, and he could only say, I hope the great Qin King and the others agree, or else I won't be able to see anyone. That's your business. I'm only in charge of searching the memories, and I didn't find anything. That Chen Yong guy must have tampered with some of the memories. The great Han King nodded slightly and said telepathically, he's very daring. This guy might have used humans as experiments. No matter what, we still have to capture Chen Yong. However, we don't need to appear. The three invincible kings instantly reached an agreement. At this moment, the silkworm exterminating king looked at Qian Jun not far away. He said coldly, in Feng Qi's memories, I also saw some things. Some memories cannot be taken seriously. What I saw may not be real, but, as I said before, we still have to investigate. At this moment, someone sighed. Under the gaze of the Silkworm King and the others, Zhou Mingren suddenly smashed Qian Jun's head into pieces. The entire place was silent. The three invincible masters watched silently. No one spoke or stopped them. Zhou Mingren sighed softly, one deserves to die. In fact, I discovered it a few years ago. It's my fault for not being willing to give up on Qian Jun. I was guilty and covered up for Qian Jun. Now that Qian Jun has been beheaded, I ask the lords to punish me for the crime of covering up. Hee hee. Someone sneered. It was Hong Tan. At this moment, Hong Tan sneered, "Old Zhou, are you going to take the blame again? Last time, I punished you for your position as deputy head of the government. This time, you killed an intermediate researcher for no reason. You don't have the right to kill people." The situation had developed to this point, which was also out of some people's expectations. Feng Qi was fine. Chen Yong was only told to return to the Great Xia Manor to explain. In the end, Qian Jun died, and it was Zhou Mingren who killed him. Of course, everyone had a vague idea. How could the three unrivaled experts not have the chance to stop him? However, they did not. Clearly, they had the intention of allowing Zhou Mingren to kill him. Zhou Mingren looked even older. He sighed softly, "I was angry for a moment. Please punish me, my lords." Angry? What we all knew decades ago, are you angry now? Hong Tan continued to tease him. Zhou Mingren said calmly, "He just sent me a message to save him. I saw that he was not repentant, so I was naturally angry. Elder Hong, are you satisfied with this explanation?" "Ha!" Hong Tan sneered. Meanwhile, the king of silkworm exterminators looked at Zhou Mingren deeply and said calmly, "Dean Zhou, you don't have the power to judge. You killed Qian Jun before he was convicted of the crime." He paused for a moment. The king of silkworm extermination said indifferently, "Killing people, even if Qian Jun is guilty, you can't kill people as you please. You've also reached the sun and moon, and you're not a nameless person. Qian Jun deserves to die, and you're also guilty. Shield and murder are both crimes. Go to the vanguard camp and accompany Lu Wenyan. Kill a sun and moon, and then come back." "Yes." Zhou Mingren's face was calm. "The vanguard camp, then go. Temporarily leave this place." The Great Xia Manor would fall into chaos. Killing people in front of an invincible opponent. He was already prepared to kill a sinner. Although the crime was there, it wasn't too big and wouldn't take his life. Letting him go to the vanguard unit was probably the heaviest punishment. As expected, this was how the Silkworm Exterminating King was dealt with. The Silkworm Exterminating King looked at him with a faint smile. Not far away, Yuan Qingdong and the others had ugly expressions on their faces. Zhou Mingren was going to be punished to go to the vanguard unit. Today, it was for the public trial of Feng Qi and to pursue Chen Yong. In the end, it was Zhou Mingren who was punished to go to the vanguard camp, while Qian Jun was killed by Zhou Mingren himself. Did he lose or win this time? Zhou Pochong spoke again, "Sirs, Chen Yong is very suspicious. Even if Feng Qi didn't find anything in his memory, isn't the punishment for Chen Yong too lenient?" The Silkworm Exterminating King thought for a moment and nodded, "That's right, it's a little lenient. It's June now, and he has half a year's time. Before the end of the year, he has to come out and explain everything. Otherwise, half a year later, he will be given a death warrant, and the crime will be to assassinate a military general. What do you think?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1477. 1477 Chapter 339 Weathervane 5. The King of Silkworm Exterminators smiled. He is currently nowhere to be found, and it will take time for the message to be delivered, and it will also take time for him to travel. Half a year is not considered long. If he still does not show up after half a year, he will be guilty of being a thief. At that time, anyone who sees him will be able to kill him. Since he had already said this much, Zhou Pochong did not say anything else. Half a year. Half a year later, if Chen Yong did not return, then today's crimes would all be established. That Feng Qi. Feng Qi. Silkworm Extermination King glanced at Feng Qi, who was still unconscious. He said calmly, Feng Qi is spouting nonsense. Without knowing anything, he rashly admitted that killing a military general had caused the morale of the army to be shaken, causing the human realm to be uneasy. Although he did not commit an actual crime, he was also at fault. Since he has done meritorious deeds by hiding in the Six Wings divine religion, the punishment will be reduced. He will be grounded for 3 years. Within 3 years, he will not be allowed to leave the Great Xia Manor. Zhang Ying felt a little stifled and said, Sir, is it only grounded? Silkworm King said calmly, Is it not enough to be grounded? I do not want to get involved in the matters of your civilized division. Since the Great Han King and Great Song King did not speak, I will make such a punishment. If you feel that it is inappropriate, let them make the decision. An expert from the military said angrily, Sir, those few colleagues died in vain. At this moment, the Great Song King said, They won't die in vain. We will continue to investigate. Not only that, from today onwards, me, the King of Silkworm Extermination, and the others will search the entire human territory for the 2 Sun and Moon members of the Six-Winged Divine Sect. In addition, we will also look for Chen Yong. These 3 people are all suspects. When the 3 of them are caught, the identity of the murderer will definitely be revealed. The 3 unrivaled experts personally came out to investigate. This time, the military had nothing to say. The Great Song King smiled and said, Don't worry, this matter will not end here. There will definitely be an explanation. If the real culprit is Chen Yong, he will definitely die. He will definitely not protect Chen Yong just because he is a pavilion elder. The results were out. Su Yu heaved a sigh of relief. It was much better than what he had expected. He thought that his uncle master was dead for sure this time. It was still alright now. He had at least half a year more time. Of course, Chen Yong was the one who had killed him. He would not return. After half a year, he would have to admit his crime. However, half a year more time was the best outcome. Half a year more, half a year less. There was still a difference. Meanwhile, Hong Tan also heaved a sigh of relief at this moment. Half a year. At least he had gained half a year's time. Otherwise, if he were to convict Chen Yong now, his disciple would be in big trouble. He had made some preparations for that kid. However, could he really hide it from Invincible? Hong Tan glanced at the King of Silkworm Extermination from the corner of his eyes. Was this Invincible the only one who made such a judgment because of the mud? Or was he biased? After all, he was Invincible of the War God Hall. Could it be that he had a good relationship with the Great Xia Emperor? He wasn't too sure about the Invincible situation. However, this time, the King of Silkworm Exterminating did have the intention of making peace. In any case, they would each play a big card. Half a year later, Chen Yong was convicted and Qian Jun was killed. Of course, Qian Jun was killed by Zhou Mingren. Hong Tan didn't say anything else. It was useless to say anything now. Half a year was not bad. On the stage, Lord Xiaoho seemed to have heaved a sigh of relief. He chuckled and said, My lords, I have troubled you this time. Finally, there is a good result. Chen Yong will not be back in half a year. When that time comes, the Great Xia Manor will not argue for him anymore. At that time, if you want to kill him or flay him, feel free to do so. As he said that, he said regretfully, I just did not expect that such a thing would happen in the Starry Manor back then. Headmaster Zhou was also impulsive. Headmaster Zhou should not have been too impulsive about Qian Jun's mistake. Headmaster Zhou went to the celestial battlefield. Be careful. The Great Xia Manor will arrange for people to help Headmaster Zhou complete his mission. Zhou Mingren lowered his head and said, Thank you, Marquis. You're welcome. Sigh, the Great Xia Manor is a little messy now. It's also my fault for not being able to govern properly. It's time for me to reflect on myself. Marquis Xia blamed himself. He quickly smiled and said, but it's nothing. Everything will be fine in the Great Xia Manor very soon. The Polytheistic College was soon officially opened. The Myriad Races College expanded its scale. The Great Xia Manor's finances are still alright now. The business is prosperous. I believe that the Great Xia Manor will return to its former peak very soon. The Silkworm Exterminating King suddenly said, then how far has the splitting method been researched? These words covered up everything. Everyone looked at Hong Tan. Hong Tan was silent for a moment before saying, soaring in the air can already combine divine literature battle techniques, but it's not too perfect. It'll take some time. The moment these words were said, the great Han King's expression changed slightly, and he said in a deep voice, can you provide a copy of the information to those in the search realm? For a fee, the seeker realm can pay the price, mainly to prevent loss. You can promise not to disclose it to the public. Hong Tan lowered his head and said in a low voice, no, it's not perfect yet. We won't disclose the incomplete technology. Hong Tan. The great Han King frowned and looked at him deeply. You have to understand, it's very dangerous. It's really very dangerous for you to have the information in your hands alone. Hong Tan lowered his head. I know, but this is the hope for my multi-divine literature department to rise up. I still hope to be more perfect so that my progress won't be ruined by some people. At this moment, the hall was extremely quiet. Hong Tan almost said, I don't believe in seeking enlightenment realm at all. I'm afraid that you guys will trip me up. He wanted to research it himself. It could already be used for soaring in the air. The great Han King said in a low voice, then will your results be made public when they appear? I might choose some people to test it out first, Hong Tan said softly, but I'm not sure yet. I need to do some more perfecting work. The great Han King did not say anything else. The great Song King sighed and said, then you should be more careful. The great Xia Manor. Take care of them a little more. Also. Sigh. He did not know what to say. The development of technology was a good thing, but the introduction of the splitting method now might not be a good thing. This might destroy Hong Tan's faction. However, the more high-profile this faction was, the more attention it attracted, and the more attention it would receive from the various races. Perhaps, it might not be a bad thing. In the past, the fifth-generation divine text had been inherited by Lu Wenyan, and it also had this intention. Hong Tan said calmly, thank you for your advice, sirs. I will pay attention to it. The splitting method is only used to fly in the sky with a few more cultivators in the sky realm. When we reach the mountains and seas, the sun and the moon, then it will be the true divine arts. The unrivaled cultivators were silent for a moment, and no one said anything else. The public trial ended at this point. However, the following impact was extremely great. The most important thing was the votes. The pro-war faction was at a disadvantage, which also represented the will of the human realm. At this moment, the human realm was not willing to start a war. When the news spread out today, even the 10,000 clans would know that the human realm was unwilling to start a war at this moment. There were so many people present. Who knew if anyone from the 10,000 clans was among them? At this moment, in the Heart Cultivation Pavilion, Wan Tianxing heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this fellow didn't arrive at Ling Yun. He realized that it might not be useless to pry into the future. At least he knew that if Su Yu didn't arrive at Ling Yun, the war might not break out. This fellow was a bellwether. I knew it, the war won't break out this time. It's fine, it's fine. After wiping off the non-existent sweat, everything was still under control. I told him that I had spent 100 years, so it was impossible for me to see that Su Yu was stuck at the 9th level of the soaring heaven realm a few months later. There might still be a few more years. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1478. 1478 Chapter 340, Outstanding People Cannot Be Hidden 1. In the main hall, Silkworm King and the others announced their decision. Su Yu, who was below the stage, also secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Everything was fine now. This was the best outcome. Otherwise, with the three invincible experts here, no one would be able to stir up any waves. Just as he was thinking, Silkworm King suddenly said, "Waiter, when will Long Wu return? At this juncture, don't run around. It's not safe outside. At the human realm, Long Wu and Dragon Breaker are currently the most dangerous. Has Long Wu gone to the heavenly battlefield?" As soon as he said this, the entire hall fell silent again. Lord Xia Ho frowned slightly and said dryly, "Silkworm Exterminating King, Long Wu is in closed-door cultivation." As for calling him a waiter, he pretended not to hear it. The Silkworm Exterminating King frowned and looked at him. After a long while, he nodded and said, "I understand. I just want to say, don't be too willful. At this time, the human realm is in turmoil, and the heavens are in turmoil. It's best for Long Wu to be in closed-door cultivation. Do you understand?" "I understand, of course I understand." Lord Xia had a smile on his face. The Great Han and Great Song Kings continued to act like soy sauce and did not say anything. Was Xia Longwu in the Great Xia Manor? He was no longer there. As for where he went, even they did not know. An expert like Xia Longwu was only a hair's breadth away from being invincible. Unless he went to the heavenly battlefield, he might be discovered by the invincible human realm guarding the headquarters, otherwise, no one would know where he was. However, at this time, the Silkworm Exterminating King said that Xia Longwu was not in the Great Xia Manor. This was not a good thing. Was he really worried that the world would not fall into chaos? Other than being invincible, who else would dare to be sure that Xia Longwu had left the Great Xia Manor? Even if there were some rumors circulating, no one dared to completely believe it. Now, the Silkworm Exterminating King had given them absolute confidence. Xia Longwu was really not in the Great Xia Manor. The King of Great Xia was not there, and Xia Longwu was not there. One had to know that there was an extremely important Hong Tan in this place, and the splitting method was still in Hong Tan's hands. Once it attracted the attention of someone with good intentions, it would be very troublesome. Was the King of Silkworm Exterminators doing this on purpose or unintentionally? This fellow was not serious all day long. Did he know that this would bring great trouble and danger to the Great Xia Mansion? Lord Xia was also laughing non-stop at this moment. Soon, he laughed again and said, "It's fine for Martial Dragon to be in closed-door cultivation. I'm also at the 8th level of the Sun-Moon Realm, and the 9th level of the Sun-Moon Realm is about to arrive. Martial Dragon is in closed-door cultivation. I'll be able to guard the Great Xia Mansion and be safe." After saying that, he continued, "There's also Old Hu and the others. Old Hu has also reached the 7th level of the Sun-Moon Realm. Old Zhao is also about to advance. Manor Head Zheng is also about to advance to the Sun-Moon Realm, and Manor Head Wan is also about to advance. Our Great Xia Mansion's troops are strong and strong. Uncles, don't worry. Does the Myriad Clan cult still dare to come to our Great Xia Mansion and behave atrociously?" At this moment, he continued to narrate. Meanwhile, at this moment, Xia Huyo's words from before rang in Su Yu's mind. A tiger bared its fangs and brandished its claws. "Tell everyone that I'm not old yet. I can still fight and kill." The Great Xia Manor's troops were strong and powerful. Even without Xia Longwu, the Great Xia Manor was still a top-notch manor. There were many suns and moons, and no one was afraid. Lord Xia had a relaxed look on his face as he sent a few unrivaled experts out. He said, it's already very good that you uncles can solve Feng Qi's matter this time. Oh right, I can't contact my father recently. Uncles, when will my father be able to relax and come back? The king of Silkworm Extermination said casually, the great Xia king didn't complete his guarding mission a few years ago. This time, it will take at least 10 years. It's still early. 10 years. Lord Xia Ho felt a little bitter. Very quickly, he said, I got it. If Silkworm Extermination King has nothing else to do, you can come to the Great Xia Manor often to take a look. The Great Xia Manor is filled with outstanding people. Back then, your time appeared in the Great Xia Manor. It was brought back by Hong Tan. It is very fated with you, my lord. You mean Su Yu learned it? Silkworm Extermination King smiled and said, it is indeed fated. However, it is a pity that Su Yu left the Great Xia Manor. Otherwise, I would like to meet him again this time. It is somewhat regretful. Marquis Xia chuckled and said, actually, Silkworm Exterminating King can also leave behind some inheritances in the Great Xia Manor. Our Great Xia Manor is also very strong in the Tao of Warriors. Let's talk about it later. Silkworm Exterminating King walked out of the Great Hall, and the Great Song King and the Great Han King walked out together. The Great Han King glanced at the people who were sent out, and finally looked at Zhou Pochong. He slowly said, I won't care too much about the quest boundary in the near future. Me and Mie are going to search for the six-winged divine sect. In addition, I have to return to the Great Han Mansion. Pochong, I hope that the quest boundary will be quieter in the near future. These words had a deep meaning. Zhou Pochong nodded silently and didn't say anything. The three invincible figures instantly disappeared from their original spots. And at this moment, a voice suddenly sounded in Su Yu's mind, Brat, you're very bold. Feel my time in front of me. Don't treat eternity as an idiot. Also, let me remind you that the Daming Manor may not be your reliance. Zhu Tiandao's ambitions are not small. Be careful not to be implicated. Leave the Great Xia Manor as soon as possible. The Great Xia Manor will fall into chaos. Su Yu's heart trembled and he did not reply. As for the three undefeatable figures, they had already disappeared. At the same time, in the air, the three undefeatable figures entered another layer of space. With one step, they were hundreds of miles away. The Great Han and Great Song Kings looked at the Silkworm Exterminating King at this moment. The Great Han King said calmly, Silkworm Exterminating, what do you mean? What? The Silkworm Exterminating King said playfully, what is it? The King of the Great Han said indifferently, Ticket, is there a problem? Feng Qi's memory, can you break through his real memory and reverse it? Why did you have to ask Xia Longwu before you left? Silkworm Exterminating, what are you thinking? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1479. 1479 Chapter 340. Outstanding people cannot be kept in the dark too. What am I thinking about? Silkworm King smiled and said, I'm not thinking about anything. The ticket is naturally real. As for reversing the memory, there's no need for that. I've already said that if I want to kill Qin Yong now, it would be forcing the Xia family to fall out with me. Is there a need for that? As for Xia Longwu, Silkworm King said indifferently, I'm reminding Xiao not to mess around. If Xia Longwu did not return, the Great Xia Manor would fall into chaos sooner or later. Did Xia Longwu think that he could rely on him to hold on? Don't treat everyone as fools. It's not like no one knows that Xia Longwu is not in the Great Xia Manor. The Great Han King looked at him deeply and did not say anything. The Great Song King waved his paper fan and smiled, Silkworm Exterminating King, this method of yours does not suit your personality. Tell us, what do you think of the current situation? What situation? Between us, do we still need to pretend to be ignorant? The great Song King smiled and said, what do you think? In addition, Hong Tan wants to announce the splitting method now. He's asking for trouble. Does he really want to die, or does he have other plans? Silkworm Extermination King shrugged, I'm not sure about that. As for my plan, it's very simple. If we can beat him, we'll beat him. If we can't beat him, we'll beat him. However, we have to control the scale of the fight. We can't not fight at all. We have to test the gods and demons. If the half-emperor of the gods and demons really advances, then we'll have nothing to play with. Silkworm Extermination King smiled and said, I know what they mean. Even if the half-emperor of gods and demons advances, they think it's still too early. They haven't advanced for thousands of years, and now they want to advance. Even if they advance, we still have a way out. Let's find a stronger small world and defend it to the death. Even if the half-emperor comes, he might not be able to do anything to them. At this point, Silkworm Exterminating King said faintly, I'm thinking, if this half-emperor has advanced, does it count as a true emperor? The true emperor is here. First, can the power of the realm be suppressed? Second, is it possible to directly break open the small world outside the realm? Third, more than half of eternity is in the human realm to attain Tao. If the human realm is lost and the human realm is broken, can those eternities still survive? Who gave you the confidence to defend the small realm? Do you mean you want to fight? The Silkworm Exterminating King smiled and said, not really. I also understand the current situation. We can't win. However, we can't completely compromise, right? It's okay to be a grandson. When I fought with the dragon Silkworm, I wasn't as good as him. It doesn't matter. The river flows east for 30 years, and the river flows west for 30 years. Now, he doesn't cower back and isn't my match. Being a grandson is also for the sake of being a grandfather in the future. I can't be a grandson forever. The two of them roughly understood what he meant. They didn't advocate an all-out war, but they wanted to test the waters and break out into a war. It would be best if it was an invincible war. The King of Silkworm Extermination said again, also, with the current mess, can the front lines still be united? I'm still very disappointed with the results of this vote. I'm afraid that the war won't break out, and the number of people who advocate war is much lower. 13 votes, excluding the one from the Forger and the one from the Xia family, is only 11 votes. To be honest, I voted too and supported the Xia family. If it weren't for me, it would only be 10 votes. Shaking his head regretfully, the King of Silkworm Extermination sighed, out of the 36 manors and the 2 holy lands, only 10 manors support the Great Xia manors. There's no need to mention the Great Qin and Great Tang who are in charge of the battle. The Great Wu manors are also in support. Since the Great Wu King is dead, is it useful? There are even fewer people who can fight than I thought. Sighing again, the King of Silkworm Extermination said faintly, there aren't many people who dare to fight. If this goes on, even if the human realm drags on for 100 years, what can they do? The King of Great Han frowned. You voted for the Xia family? Yes. The two of them nodded. They had guessed it. This guy had a fiery personality. Otherwise, he wouldn't have fought against the Dragon Silkworm King for so many years. In this way, there were indeed very few people who supported him. Since the invincible of the Great Wu Mansion was dead, there was no point in supporting him. The King of Great Han hesitated for a moment and asked, then, what should the 3 manors of the Great Qi, Great Wei, and Great Qin choose? None of the 3 manors were invincible, and they died in battle. Including the Great Wu manors, none of the 4 manors were invincible. The votes of the 4 manors were actually of little use. The 4 manors, 2 to 2, cancel it out. This King of Silkworm Exterminators wasn't lying. Indeed, 2 to 2 cancelled it out. The Great Han King didn't say anything else. In that case, many of the 13 votes of the Xia family couldn't count anymore. The votes of the two manners couldn't count, and the votes of the forgers couldn't count. Excluding the Xia family and the king of silkworm exterminators, only 8 families supported the Xia family. What about the war god Hall? Of course we support the Xia family. AI. There was nothing else to say. Other than the war god Hall, there were only 7 manners with invincible support. The great Han King could even calculate which 7 manners there were. This was also in line with the number of people in everyone's minds. In the end, the main peace faction had the absolute advantage. The few of them chatted for a while, and the great Song King smiled and said, "Silkworm extermination, who did you send a voice transmission to in the end? Does it have anything to do with you?" "No." The great Song King smiled and said, "I'm just a little curious, that's Chui Lang, right? It feels like. It really does have something to do with me." Su Yu received 10 invincible manuals, 1 for each of the 8 great clans. The great Han King gave 1 to him, and the last one belonged to the great Song King. The great Song Mansion was not one of the 8 great clans, but the great Song King had written a few of them. He had left them in the Quest Territory treasury, so he could read them and give them to others. The Silkworm Exterminating King ignored him, and the great Han King said indifferently, "Chui Lang shall be Chui Lang. I even noticed that there are some of my inheritances." The Silkworm Exterminating King was speechless and did not say anything else. With Shi Guang and the 2 invincible inheritances, who was Chui Lang, was there even a need to ask? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1480. 1480 Chapter 340 Outstanding People Can't Be Hidden 3. That's right, the distance is too close. Of course, the crux of the matter is that Su Yu is too weak. He's only at the sky-bearing realm. If he were a little stronger, it wouldn't be so easy for his strength to be revealed. However, his strength is a little too weak. With such a close distance, he should be able to sense something. The few of them didn't say anything and quickly disappeared into the void. Whether it was Chui Lang or Su Yu, this wasn't the key at the moment. Even if it was rumored that he had the invincible relic, the relic was a relic, and the invincible relic was invincible. It didn't mean that the invincible relic could give birth to the invincible. The 3 invincible relics left. At this moment, Su Yu was also shocked. Had they been discovered? The invincible relic was indeed stronger than he had imagined. The Silkworm Exterminating King had used time. He had only watched for a moment longer, and he had actually been discovered. As for the Silkworm Exterminating King's words, he had remembered them well enough. There was no need for him to think too much about anything else. Just as Su Yu was thinking about this, numerous Sun-Moon Realm experts walked in from outside the Great Hall. They were all experts from the Great Xia Manor, and there were quite a number of them. At this moment, Lord Xia Ho also walked in. The smile on his face was no longer as he looked at Zhou Pochong and the others. Lord Xia Ho said coldly, "Zhou Pochong, you guys can't do the proper thing. Killing the Myriad clan cult is useless, but you guys are quite capable of dealing with my people. On Chen Yong's side, let alone not having any evidence, even if you have evidence, it's not your place to judge me." Zhou Pochong said with a faint smile, "Waiter, I'm just maintaining justice. If killing a military general isn't punished, then who else is there to punish? Cut the crap." Lord Xia Ho said coldly, "You can scram now. Leave the Great Xia Manor immediately. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite to you." After saying that, he looked at the others and said coldly, "The show is over. Shouldn't those who should leave be leaving? Don't challenge the Xia family's tolerance again and again. The Xia family's blade isn't broken yet." Zhou Pochong sighed. "You're too impulsive. We have no intention of targeting the Xia family. You must think of this yourself." Isn't maintaining the situation for the past few decades what everyone wants to see? Master Xia Ho, I still hope that you will reconsider. Master Xia Ho's face was cold and he did not say anything. Zhou Pachong shook his head. As he walked, he said, look at the situation clearly. Be it you or me, no one is doing this for their own sake. They all wish for the human realm to be better, including those who are invincible. Could it be that they do not see it clearer than us? Look again. The majority of those who support you now are fighters. The demands of fighters are different from ours. It is true that the Great Xia Manor is a fighter aristocratic family, but it is also the origin of the multi-god literature. The multi-god literature can recognize the Xia family as the sect master. Lord Xia fell silent. He understood Zhou Pachong's meaning. The multi-god language that he mentioned was not the current multi-god language, nor was it Hong Tan and the others. It was a different group of people. Zhou Pachong did not care about him anymore. Finally, he looked at Hong Tan. His gaze was slightly complicated as he said, no one wants to target anyone, but everyone has different paths and different demands. Hong Tan, the splitting method, may not be able to strengthen the multi-god language. It may be the root of the disaster. I don't need you to remind me. Hong Tan said coldly, even ants are greedy for life. Furthermore, I am not an ant. As you wish. Zhou Pachong did not say anything else. He walked out of the hall and left. The Sun-Moon experts beside Yuan Qingdong also left at this moment. The people left one after another. In the end, Lord Xia came to send off the weapon forging division. His attitude was very polite and was completely different from before. Finally, he wanted to have a private chat with Cui Lang. Everyone was not surprised. Roping in the new generation of weapon forging experts was in line with Lord Xiao's style. When the others walked to the side, Lord Xiao glanced at Su Yu and sighed softly, luckily, you didn't mess up my plan. I don't understand what Lord Xiao is saying. Lord Xiao did not care what he said and continued, leave this place as soon as possible. Today, this is a dangerous place. I've already told you not to stay here for long. Su Yu was silent. After a while, he asked, what about them? He was talking about Hong Tan and the others. They can't leave. Master Xiao said calmly, they are the catalyst. Once the catalyst is gone, it will explode everywhere. Su Yu was silent again and said, I've understood a lot today. I want to ask, if I didn't cause trouble, would the situation not be so bad? Master Xiao laughed. You admit that you're causing trouble? No, I'm just trying to save myself. What you think is yours, what I think is mine. I don't know what you're doing, so even if you destroy something, don't look for me. I just think that maybe everything on Elder Chen's side can be avoided. Master Xiao smiled and said slowly, the grudge is deep. It has nothing to do with you. The moment Lu Wenyan walked out of the southern Yuan. No, the moment he was forced into the air in the southern Yuan, it actually meant that it was about to begin. Everything started from that attack. It started from Lu Wenyan's advancement. 50 years had already exhausted all of everyone's expectations and hopes. Speaking up to this point, Lord Xiao continued, however, you did speed up the process. It wasn't supposed to be so fast. It was originally planned to wait for 2 years. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a need for me, the acting manor head's existence. Do you understand? Su Yu nodded and didn't say anything else. Lord Xiao laughed and said again, don't think that you are really good at hiding. There are quite a number of people who have discovered you. If you act so ostentatiously, sooner or later, someone will discover you. Get lost quickly. It's best to return to Daming Manor. Su Yu said in a muffled voice, so what if I've discovered you? Let me ask Lord Xiao, why has my house become an exhibition hall where anyone can go? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1481. 1481 Chapter 340 Outstanding People Can't Be Hidden Monthly 4. Lord Xia Ho said plainly, a broken house. I'll go then. Su Yu clenched his fists. Lord Xia Ho said with a faint smile, you're not convinced. Don't argue with me either. If they don't go, how will they discover the ruins? Nan Yuan, the ruins will come out sooner or later. Su Yu's eyes moved slightly. Sooner or later. Master Xia Ho smiled and said, your house is not open, so no one is interested in coming. If they can't find it, how boring would that be? A house, if it's gone, then so be it. A house with someone is a house. A house with no one is just a house. Why don't I compensate you? Su Yu gritted his teeth and said, that is the place where my father and I have lived together for more than 10 years. It bears the weight of my youth. Tsk tisk. Master Xia Ho laughed. A child is a child. Fine, you can hold a grudge. I don't care. When you can deal with me, hee, I'll be waiting. You. Su Yu was furious. Master Xia Ho did not really care about this. He continued to laugh and said, why haven't you released your cultivation technique recently? To be honest, I wanted you to be more famous. Now that you've suddenly stopped releasing your cultivation technique, it's suddenly meaningless. With you causing a ruckus, fewer people have gone to Nanyuan. That won't do. He looked at Su Yu with a smile. My home has been destroyed, and I've killed everyone. Why don't you release some more cultivation techniques? The stronger the relic, the better. The more mysterious it is, the better. It's best if it can draw out Invincible's prying eyes. Don't you think it's interesting? Su Yu frowned and looked at him. Draw out Invincible. Master Xia Ho narrowed his eyes and said, actually, compared to Hong Tan and the others, I think more highly of you. If you don't leave, tsk, I think that you'll be the bait that everyone wants to take a bite out of. Why should I cooperate with you? Why should I? Master Xia Ho smiled and raised his chin. He pointed at Hong Tan, Bai Feng, and the others and said playfully, how about you share some of the pressure with them? The pressure is too great, and I'm afraid that I'll collapse. Why don't you share some of it? Su Yu gritted his teeth. This damn fatty, is he sure that he can take me? Master Xia Ho smiled and said, you must be scolding me. It's fine, I don't care. There are many people who scold me, and you're not even ranked in the list. Help me out. Tell me, how do you want everyone to pay more attention to Nan Yuan? Su Yu was silent for a moment. After a long while, he said, what exactly do you want to do, Master Xia? Are you an enemy or a friend? What is the Xia family's attitude? Master Xia Ho said with a smile, you don't have to care about the attitude or what you want to do. I'll just ask you. How do you think we can make everyone pay more attention to Nanyuan? Su Yu looked at him with a frown. After a while, he said, the Heaven Yuan Qi has leaked out. Nanyuan might exist in the Heaven Yuan Holy Land. Lord Xia was stunned. Su Yu had already turned around and left. He said in a clear voice, I'm used to wandering around. Thank you for your kindness, Lord Xia. Many people looked around with smiles on their faces. They had all guessed it. How could it be so easy to be roped in? As for Lord Xia, his eyes flickered. Heaven Yuan Qi Holy Land. The key was that there was not that much Heaven Yuan Qi. This kid had it. You have it. How about selling it to me? How about 100 merit points for one Heaven Yuan fruit? Su Yu ignored him and sent a voice transmission. 500 merit points. To relieve some pressure on your master and grandmaster. How about 1,000 merit points? I want 1,000 heaven yuan fruits, do you have it? 2,000 merit points, no more. Su Yu did not want to bother with him. Lord Xiaohou sighed, he transmitted his voice again, I'm going to die. Your master and the others are going to die too. Many people are going to die. In the future, the world will belong to you young people. Money is just a worldly possession. Actually, it doesn't matter if you give us more, but we need to do some decorations. It will cost too much. Kid, how about we sponsor some? Su Yu turned his head to look at him with an unfriendly gaze. Don't look. Be careful that people will suspect you. Lord Xiaohou looked at him, he transmitted his voice, people of our generation did not sweep the heavens and suppress the myriad worlds. I'm afraid there's no hope for us to do it. We can only look at people of your generation. Of course, before we die, we will still do something to make things more smooth for you. Kid, I'm so great. Is it okay to sponsor me? For a moment, Su Yu did not know if it was true or not. He kept feeling that Master Xiaohou was trying to cheat him of his money and his heaven yuan qi. Master Xiaohou continued, we have a very grand plan. If the plan succeeds, you guys will be comfortable. In the future, at least it won't be so difficult. Of course, any reform will need to be completed with blood. I'm going to die, Long Wu is going to die, and that old ghost of mine is probably going to die as well. There are still many people. Your master, grandmasters, and myriad sage. They are so grand, but they need to sponsor some heaven yuan qi. Can you provide a batch? The more Su Yu listened, the more he felt that this fatty was trying to cheat him of his money. He ignored him and continued talking. From the looks of it, it wasn't something that could be done in a short period of time. Lord Xiaohou smiled and stared at his back for a while, he transmitted his voice again, you can talk about the heaven's origin qi again. There's something that I have to remind you. If you want to go to the celestial battlefield, it's best if you go to Lingyun or even the mountains and seas first. Also, the smell of blood is too strong. Suck less blood. It's fine if I don't get close to you, but if I get close to you, the smell of blood on your body is really stinky. Su Yu was slightly shocked. Lord Xiaohou's voice sounded again. You can go to the Great Gold Mansion and take a walk. They have a meditation spring. You can take a bath for 3 to 5 days. The smell of blood can cover it up. Your bones are filled with the smell of blood. Su Yu silently remembered this matter. He really did not care too much about it. He did not know whether Niu Baidao and the others did not smell it or did not care. In any case, they did not mention this matter. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1482. 1482 Chapter 340 Outstanding People Cannot Be Hidden 5. After Lord Xiaohou left, the inspector's office also became completely silent. Su Yu walked out of the inspector's office. The other weapon forging divisions were also exchanging greetings and preparing to leave. Seeing Su Yu come out, Hu Qi smiled and said, Cui Lang, do you want to go back with me? No, I still want to play outside. Teacher Hu, you can go back first. Then stay outside. Be careful. Hu Qi gave a few more warnings and did not say anything else. At this moment, Xia Huyo walked over once again, he smiled and said, Brother Cui, why don't you stay in the Great Xia Manor for a few more days? Brother Cui and I hit it off at first sight. Brother Cui still has many places to play. Although the Great Xia Manor does not have many places to play, it also has a unique flavor. Brother Cui, what do you think? As he spoke, he smiled and said, I've also invited quite a number of invincible descendants. In fact, in 2 days, there will be a group of beauties from the powerful celestial and demon clans coming to the Great Xia Manor. How about a few more days? Su Yu's eyes flickered and he quickly smiled and said, Really? The students from the powerful celestial and demon clans are coming to the Great Xia Manor. Just a few more days. Xia Huyo laughed and said, then it's settled. Brother Cui, stay for a few more days. I also like weapon forging. Let's exchange pointers together. Those weapon forging division masters all laughed. This brat from the Xia family really dared to say that you know how to do it. However, the Xia family was quite satisfied with the weapon forging division. Even if they were invincible descendants, they had to support our weapon forging division. It was quite a face. Zhao Tianbing laughed and said, little friend Cui, why don't you stay for a few more days? It just so happens that my junior brother also has a good impression of you. He has been very depressed recently. You can exchange ideas with him as my request. If little friend travels to the Great Zhou Manor and comes to the Great Zhou Weapon Forging Academy to look for me, you will definitely be warmly welcomed. Thank you, Manor Head Zhao. Su Yu clasped his fist and thanked him as a form of agreement. Zhao Tianbing chuckled and left swiftly. The other weapon forging division members also exchanged a few words of courtesy before leaving one after another. After everyone had left, Xia Huyo sent a telepathic message to Su Yu, don't run around these few days. A few people died in Nanyuan, and there are experts on their way here. They encountered some trouble on their way here, so they should wait for the trouble to be resolved before leaving. Su Yu nodded silently. It seemed like the family members of the deceased had arrived. Great Gold Mansion, Tranquil Heart Spring, the guy he killed seemed to be from the Great Gold Mansion. Xia Huyo transmitted a message, and very quickly, he led Su Yu forward. As they walked, he said, Brother Cui, why don't you stay in the academy for the next few days? There are still some villas in the recuperation garden. If you neglect them, why don't you stay there for the time being? You should also interact with everyone. In the next few days, some of the invincible descendants will also come. It's my honor. Su Yu was being polite. He looked at Hong Tan and the others from the corner of his eye and didn't say a word. Not far away. By Feng's side, it's still better to learn weapon forging and pill forging. Master, do you see that? Look, he's only a weapon forging master at mystic rank. He treats him like a treasure. You're already at the sun and moon, yet you still feel that your status isn't as high as his. Old Zhao has broken through, and now I feel that master's status is lower by another level. Hong Tan glanced at him. You don't feel comfortable if you don't seek death, do you? He turned his head to glance at Su Yu and raised his eyebrows slightly. This kid, I feel that he's not some kind person. The murderous aura on his body is very strong. Of course, you can't feel it, you're too weak. As he said this, Hong Tan smiled and suddenly transmitted his voice, this kid. Do you feel anything? Bai Feng was stunned for a moment before transmitting his voice, I feel quite close to him. Hong Tan didn't say anything else. It wasn't just you, it was me too. It wasn't that they were really close, but that there was something very important to them on this fellow's body. What was it? In the next moment, he had a vague idea. Divine Literature Battle Technique Steel. Hong Tan silently memorized it in his heart, but he didn't probe anything. Perhaps it was just an illusion. Wasn't the Divine Literature Battle Technique Steel taken away by Su Yu? P.S. This is what you call water. Yesterday's last chapter was really not water. It was infuriating.